right, welcome back to the party, everybody. This is Morty, and I am your host, Fletch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Everybody hit that like and subscribe. You know I would do it for you, and let's party. Big shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to watch us, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part, so make sure you're here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So hit that subscribe, ring the bell, and you will never miss an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com, the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. More designs coming soon only at my6shirt.com. All right. We got Soil Does Soul in the building. I'm replying to our running poll. Who talks faster, Destiny or Ben Shapiro? As will be infinitely relevant, as that is what's going on today. Just earlier today, Lex Fridman had these two gentlemen on the podcast. I'm sure you are very familiar with them. If not, Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, Destiny, the streamer. Without further ado, guys, that's how you say that, right? I said it right, and then I stopped myself because I thought, as always, if you cannot hear the video, please do.
Something has to happen with Iran. There has to be some diplomatic bilateral communication there.
No, what has to happen is the containment of Iran.
History moves in one direction, right?
Why?
Because of time.
Communism, Nazism.
History moves in one direction because of time. Okay, bro.
All of that was a regression from what was happening at, for example, the beginning of the 19th century and the 20th century.
In what way?
Do you think that today Donald Trump knows that he lost the election?
Absolutely.
So I don't.
This is one of the areas when we get into this, I don't understand if there's like brain breaking happening or what's going on. I don't know what world we can ever live in where we say that Trump is less divisive for the country than Biden.
Joe Biden.
That should have been the poll question. Who is more divisive, Joe Biden or Donald Trump?
Literally used the Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration to try to cram down vax mandates on 80 million Americans. That's insane.
What about supercalifragilistic? And then you're
what about pneumological microscopic?
Or the science terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Or what about the 7,000 letter thing that's from part of biochemistry?
I got my education in the Soviet Union, so we just did math. Didn't learn any of this.
That's why you're a useful person.
All right,
This body count.
Let's get into it. There we go.
Ben Shapiro and Destiny, each arguably representing the right and the left of American politics.
Shout out to M169 in the building. Welcome to the party. Said Biden easily on being more divisive, right? Obviously.
Respectively. They are two of the most influential and skilled political debaters in the world.
Ooh, coming out early with a hot comment. Trump is divisive by personality. Biden is divisive by lack thereof. Interesting. Oh, I like that.
This debate has been a long time coming. For many years. It's about 2.5 hours, and we could have easily gone for many more.
And obviously, we're not going to finish the whole thing, but I'll, we'll see how far we get, and then maybe we want to pick this up on Friday, or we could leave it where it is.
And I'm sure we will. It is only round one. And now, dear friends, here's Ben Shapiro and Destiny.
Hey, shout out to Culture Pop with B Hop. Welcome to the party. Good to see ya. Said I was going to stream this on my own, but decided to come here. Well, welcome. I am very, very glad that you decided to come, and hopefully you will enjoy the party. Let me grab the your own channel link. Give me 1 second here.
Ben, you're conservative. Destiny, you're a liberal. Can you each describe what key values underpin your philosophy on politics and maybe life in the context of this left-right political spectrum? You want to go first?
Yeah. So I think that we have a huge country full of a lot of people, a lot of individual talents, capabilities. And I think that the goal of government, broadly speaking, should be to try to ensure that everybody's able to achieve as much as possible. So and
guys, I did just drop the link to Culture Pop with B Hop's channel. Please definitely go check that out. Shout out to Mood. Welcome to the party. Said I got about 30 minutes in yesterday. Great convo. Would have loved a long version of any of these topics. Very, very much agreed. As I was walking through, they kind of go through them very quickly, which is why I'm not sure how far we're going to get and why we might want to pick this up on Friday, because they're kind of just rattling through stuff. But there is a lot here. So I do think, and we are pretty familiar with, we are pretty familiar with their position. So I do think it is, it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And culture, I said, shit, me too. I would rather see them fight for real. Who would you take? Who would win? Who would win? That's a new poll. That's a new poll. I'm making that a poll. Hold on.
Liberal level, that usually means some people to achieve as much as possible. So on a liberal level, that usually means some people might need a little bit of a boost when it comes to things like education. They might need a little bit of a boost when it comes to providing certain necessities like housing or food or clothing. But broadly speaking, I mean, I'm still a liberal, not a communist or a socialist. I don't believe in the, total command economy, total communist takeover of all of the, economy. But I think that broadly speaking, the government should kind of like kick in and help people when they need it.
And that government can and should be big.
Not necessarily. I noticed that when liberals talk about government, or especially taxes, it seems like they talk about it for taxes' sake or bigness sake. So people talk about taxes sometimes as like a punishment, like tax the rich. I think taxing the rich is fine insofar as it funds the programs that we want to fund. But
I like that. That's a good point. That, on the left, do this to the rich as if it's a punishment, and that's not what it should be. And there is an understandable anger when people don't have money. I know, because I'm broke. But when you understand economics, then it's not just like, those people are rich probably because either they worked hard or somebody in their family worked hard, and nothing is stopping you. And yeah, I'm kind of with Soul the Soul. I think it might be destiny. He's younger. He actually is he? I don't even know, but I don't know. Mood says Destiny's been working out, I guess, and he's definitely not much younger. There's no way Ben is more than 42 at the most. I would say, oh, God damn it. Sorry, everybody who wanted to get right into the debate. So Ben is 40, and Destiny is 35. So we're talking about 5 years difference. So not huge. I don't know though. I kind of feel like Destiny's been, getting with them crazy girls, and I don't know. Maybe that gets a little scrappiness with him. I don't know.
But Democrats have a really big problem demonizing success or wealth, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing to be wealthy, to be a billionaire or whatever, as long as we're funding what we need to fund.
Ben, what do you think it means to be a conservative? What's the philosophy that underlies your political view?
So first of all, I'm glad that Destiny, you're already coming out as a Republican. That's exciting. We hold a lot in common in terms of, the basic idea that people ought to have as much opportunity as possible, and also
let's also just be real. I mean, Ben's kind of a beta.
Far as the government should do the minimum amount necessary to interfere in people's lives in order to pursue certain functions, particularly at the local level. So a lot of governmental discussions on a pragmatic level end up being discussions about where government ought to be involved, but also at what level government ought to be involved. And I have an incredibly subsidiary view of government.
Right, and that's an important thing, is that when we talk about the left wanting big government and the right wanting small government, smaller government, that doesn't necessarily mean that, okay, here, just because we want small government, here's something that we don't like, that the government, it falls under the government's purview. We're just not going to do anything about it. Like, all the books that we've been seeing in schools. Just because we're for small government, I'm more libertarian than I am Republican. Just because I would like essentially no government. Not no government, but as little as possible. That doesn't mean that I'm okay with the government just kind of sweeping that under the rug in every state but Florida. Culture Prop said he is scared of WAPs. It's documented. Facts.
I think that local governments, because you have higher levels of homogeneity and consent, are capable of doing more things. And as you abstract up the chain, it becomes more and more impractical and more divisive to do more things. In my view, government is basically there to preserve certain key liberties. Those key liberties pre-exist the government. I
hate to keep derailing from the actual debate, but I would love to know what Alex Jones would say, because I definitely think he has a lot more of Destiny's respect than people who just look and will take this side or the other side. So the Soul said, yes, I consider myself more libertarian-minded than Republican or even conservative in general. Yeah, me too. It's just that the Libertarian Party doesn't really have much of a presence in our in the landscape, which I thought was going to change when Dave Smith and the Mises Caucus took over the party. And they do have their candidate. I don't even know his name. I listened to Dave Smith's podcast. Pretty much, I listened to everyone, save for a few. And I don't know the Libertarian Party candidate. So not doing really well. Shout out to Opus. Welcome to the party. Guys, please don't forget to like the video. Helps so much. Thank you very, very much.
Insofar as they are more important than what priorities the government has. The job of government is to maintain, for example, national defense, protection of property rights, protection of religious freedom.
That's what, yeah. Religion is there to protect the basics. I like that. I don't want government getting very granular and telling people essentially anything that they could do with their lives or can't.
And these are the key focuses of government as generally expressed in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. And I agree with the general philosophy of the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, that you can't do more on a governmental level, again, as you get closer to the ground, which, by the way, is also embedded in the Constitution. People forget the Constitution was originally applied to the federal government, not to local and state governments. But if I were going to define conservatism, it would actually be a little broader than that, because I think to understand how people interact with government, you have to go to kind of core values. And so for me, there are a couple of premises. One, human beings have a nature. That nature is neither good nor bad. We have aspects of goodness and we have aspects of badness. Human beings are sinful. We have temptations. And what that means is that we have to be careful not to incentivize the bad, and that we should incentivize the good. Human beings do have agency and are capable of making decisions.
Right. And so not taking on the free will conversation right here, that absolutely people are capable of making decisions, and they have to have a reason to want to make this decision over that decision. Otherwise, it devolves into what makes me feel good right now, which to me kind of sounds like standard leftism these days.
In the vast majority of circumstances, and it is better for society if we act as though they do. Second, the basic idea of human nature, there is an idea, in my view, that all human beings have equal value before the law. Yeah,
well, wait a minute. I thought Ben Shapiro was an evil white supremacist conservative. He thinks all people should be equal under the eyes of the law? No. Of course. Obviously, if you know anything about any of these people, that's not surprising. But I'm sure it'd be surprising to a few. I said, I don't know what it is, but I can't stand to listen to most libertarian talk politics. I know what it is. It's the fact that most of them are fucking crazy. Most of them are fucking crazy. Oh, well, 7 minutes in. We're good. All right. I thought I was cursing too early. For a long time, the capital L libertarians were kind of loosely, not defined, but I guess caricatured as like, oh, well, we can't even have the FDA, and we can't have any government stopping. There can be, all drugs should be legal for children. Children should be able to consent to get tattoos, and all. That's why, because it's crazy. It's crazy. It's only recently that you see, and I mean, not consistently, but we had Gary Johnson in there who was not great, but at least a normal kind of person, and they kind of took him out with the Aleppo comment. But it is what it is. We're starting to see people who are a little bit more in touch with the bipartisan world that we actually do live in. And so when they can realize that, like, Libertarian Party nominee, you are not going to be the president. Your role here is to force the conversations that the Uniparty is not going to have without you. And I don't think they seem to understand that. Yeah, shout out to Michael Malice, but he's actually an anarchist. But yeah, definitely check out Dave Smith. We've covered him before. But I don't hear anything that he says that's wrong. I just don't. But so I think it's because libertarians can tend to be accelerationists and lack faith in doing any legislative changes over a full-fledged revolt. That's another thing too. She says, oh, we got to tear the whole thing down. Everything about everything is wrong. It's like, okay, even if I agree with you, that doesn't really give us any starting point. Like, okay, we all agree, all of this sucks, and Yep. Culture Pops just did a stream on Joe Benoli with the council, and I was saying how instant gratification has taken over a larger portion of our lives.
Bingo.
Absolutely, that is the driving factor on most behavior that you see in general, and certainly most behavior that you see online. It's just instant gratification, looking for likes, looking for all that stuff. Shout out to Virgil Kane, all the way over from Manchester, England. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party, brother. Always good to see ya. All right, let's dive back in here.
So they do. Second, the basic idea of human nature, there is an idea, in my view, that all human beings have equal value before the law. Yeah, I'm a religious person, so I'd say equal value before God, but I think that's also sort of a key tenet of Western civilization, being non-religious or religious, that every individual has equivalent value in sort of cosmic terms. But that does not necessarily mean that every person is equally equipped to do everything equally well. And so it is not the job of government to rectify every imbalance of life, the quest for cosmic justice, as Thomas Sowell suggests.
So what you're telling me, Ben Shapiro, is that even though you do see people equally under the law, that doesn't mean that everybody is going to have the exact same cookie cutter life, and even maybe that's not even a good thing. Oh yeah, I completely agree. Shout out to Indyville. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. I said, okay, kids, don't forget to like and subscribe. We got 9 people in here just on YouTube and only 5 likes, guys. Come on, it is free and it helps so much. Thank you, guys.
Is something that government is generally incapable of doing, and more often than not botches and makes things worse. So those are a few key tenets, and that tends to materialize in a variety of ways. The easiest way to sum that up would the traditional kind of 3 legs of the conservative stool. Although now obviously there's a very fragmented conservative movement in the United States.
I'm not super familiar with the 3 legs of the conservative school. Shout out to Guam Tech. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. Said Ben has the anger and attitude from childhood to tear Destiny apart. Destiny is just too far down the soy rabbit hole to have any chance. Even though he works out, Ben has a conviction on his side, and God. And Guamtex got me on the line. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome, welcome to the party. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying, Ben is not my first draft pick for going in the conservative versus liberal MMA championship. Let's just put it that way. So said, if you really want to screw something up, create a federal agency to oversee it and regulate it. Yup. Culture Pop said they both could give a shit about America, in my opinion. Really? Meaning like that they don't? Because I feel like they very much do, and they just come from it from very different angles. And the problem with coming from different angles is not being able to see that there is, in fact, another angle, that you can want happiness for yourself and your family and your countrymen, and you think this is the way to go, when really we think that's the way to go. I think both of them are patriots as anyone else. But yeah, please tell me why. Please tell me why, and maybe we can drop the link a little bit later, have you up here, and see what you guys got to say about what we are watching. So just in case you didn't do geography in school, I am in Europe. Thank you. I was thinking like Africa or Australia maybe, but thank you. Anyone said Crowder is pretty buff, but I think he's got a heart problem. Even with that heart problem, he could take them both on, I think. I said, I'm here from the government. I'm here to help. Psych!
Would be a socially conservative view in which family is the chief institution of society, like the little platoons of society, as Edmund Burke suggested, in which free market and property rights are extraordinarily valuable and necessary, because every individual has the ability to be creative with their property and to freely alienate that property. And finally, I tend toward a hawkish foreign policy that suggests that the world is not filled with wonderful people who all agree with us and think like us. And those people will pursue adversarial interests if we do not protect our own interests.
Now, when it comes to Ben's foreign policy, I'm really more familiar with him talking about Israel for the past 2 months. But when you say hawkish, to me, that sounds like you're ready to go start some shit just to make sure somebody else doesn't start like. Oh man. And but yeah, I don't like that. I don't think hawkish is if you're not going to fight, and you have the money and resources where you don't have to worry about like, okay, what if the country goes into a different state, all this money that we're spending. I don't like that. I don't like that. If you're ready to gear up and go over there, fine by me. Fine by me. But you just seem a little too comfortable in your Daily Wire studio to be like, yeah, we got to do this. Like, what you mean we, bro? Almost said Ben's lost the plot over the past year. The Israel situation has really done it to him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. And like I've told you guys before, I don't really like watch Ben's content like that. Like I'm not clicking on every one of his videos. But again, we're all, he's around, so I'm very familiar with his his positions on things. But it's yeah, good point. I don't really blame him either. But yeah, it's just too much. It's just too much. And it's like you're trying to start World War III so that Israel doesn't lose World War III. Okay.
Those people will pursue adversarial interests if we do not protect our own interests.
Can I ask you a question on that? I'm so curious.
Sure.
Okay. I'm excited for this conversation because I consider you to be really intelligent. But I feel like sometimes there are ways that conservatives talk about certain issues that seem to defy logic and reason, I guess. So here, and I'm sure you feel the same way about I feel the same way about progressives, but even some liberals for sure.
Me too.
Before I ask this question, it's going to relate to education. We can agree, broadly speaking, that statistics are real and that not everybody could do everything. So for a grounded example, my life was pretty bad. I got into streaming and I turned my life around, and that was really cool, but I can't expect everybody to do what I did, right? Like everybody being able to join the NBA or to be like a streamer.
Well, of course, everybody has different qualities, sure.
Okay. So I used to be a lot more libertarian when I was 21. And one of the things that dramatically changed kind of my view on government manipulation.
It never makes sense to me. It makes perfect sense how you're liberal when you're younger and you go to a more conservative. That's where the saying of you're not liberal when you're young, you have no heart, and you don't get more conservative as you get older, you got no brains. That makes sense to me. But I don't get how you could go the other way. It doesn't make sense to me. I hate how liberals lead with empty platitudes, then attack you personally. I mean, I'm going to put that a little bit more on Destiny specifically than liberals in general, even though I definitely agree. But let's stick with, I mean, ain't no other liberal in the room but Destiny. So let's put it on Destiny, because that was a little shisty from the start.
Of things in the, I guess, in society came when it came time to deal with my son and the school that he went to. And one of the things that I noticed was when it came time to send my son to school, I could either do private education or I could do public. Personally, I did 12 years of Catholic private education. However, the public schools in Nebraska, depending on where you lived, were very, very, very good.
Hey, shout out to Christian Packard in the building. Welcome. So this was a good debate. Ben showed why he's actually one of the greats. Hate his super intensive rhetoric over Israel, but man, Ben is just an incredible mind. Word up. Welcome. I guess you saw this already, but hopefully you will enjoy my analysis. Welcome.
And I opted for a certain district. I bought a house there. I moved there, and then my son was able to go to those schools. And he's been going through those schools. And the difference of availability of like technology, like these kids are taking home iPads in like first grade. They've got like huge computer labs and everything.
Destiny, are you under the impression that somebody would say that you shouldn't do that? Or are other people who are from the left being like, well, you shouldn't, not everybody can go to these schools, so you're being hypocritical by sending or something like that? Like this, you're talking about a class issue, but you're walking down the road of racism.
Take it to those schools, and the difference of availability of like technology, like these kids are taking home iPads in like first grade. They've got like huge computer labs and everything. Do you think that
That's not a bad point. That is not a bad point. Ovis said, I can't take anyone seriously about parenting who's in an open relationship now divorcing. I will say that, if you're in an open relationship and it's working, then fine. I mean, as being a parent, as long as there's two people there parenting, what y'all do that doesn't affect them is whatever. But the fact that it's probably gonna not work out very well, I mean, It's like why we don't take dating advice from people who are single. We don't take school advice from people who are homeless or any, money advice from people who are broke. That simple. So the soul said my son's rural county gives Chromebooks in first grade. So, well, I did stop him. He didn't quite make the point yet. But I'm just saying, this sounds like you're about to make a racial argument when this is clearly a class argument. Christian said, I would argue people were more intelligent before technology. 1800s philosophers were incredible. No iPads needed. I guess it depends on, are you talking about intelligence as how many things do you know, or how well can you think critically? I think if the latter, definitely. I mean, with the invention of, I don't know, and a Rolodex, we started to outsource our memory, and now everything is in here and not too much up there. Culture Pop with Beehive said them all for being free, but we shouldn't promote open marriage. I'm not promoting shit. I'm just saying if that's what you do, I'm not going to tell you how to live. In the same way, I don't have a girl. So if you got a girl, then I'm not going to tell you this, that, or the other. If you're doing the thing, then hey. MC9 said, why do we jump directly to less tech is bad? I'm not totally against it, but it's not always the best thing. I agree that there is something to be said about outsourcing all of our memory to things, but obviously now there's more information in any one of our phones than the entirety of all the 1800s philosophers put together. So yeah, the latter, I'm with that. Ova said reading comprehension is probably the best measure of intelligence. Yeah, I would say at least for younger kids, definitely. It's in the gutters these days. Yep. Virgil tried to boil an egg in the microwave and put it on for 10 minutes, and it blew the goddamn dart off. Another expense. Yeah, bro, you gotta be careful. Eggs in the microwave work, but 10 minutes. God damn. No, I know. I'm just we just talking. So the soul said, "What is it? It isn't much of a class argument either if he's talking about the availability of basic technology." But yeah, he's not finished. So yeah, let's see what the
ends there. I moved there, and then my son was able to go to those schools, and he's been going through those schools. And the difference of availability of like technology, like these kids are taking home iPads in like first grade. They've got like huge computer labs and everything. Do you think that there is some type of, I don't want to say injustice or unfairness, because I'm not even looking at it that way, just pragmatically, that there might be children that are in certain schools that if they just had better funding or more access to technologies or things available to them, that those kids would become more productive members of society, that with like a little bit of a help, they could actually achieve more and do better for all of society. So
I will say, what culture is saying here is that like we talk about this all the time, where our brains are the same as they were when we were cavemen, maybe a little bit, but certainly not wired to be able to access that much information, know that many people, see that much nasty shit going around. You're absolutely right. We are not. Our brain was not ready for it at all. Opus said Destiny is impressed by shiny tablets. Shocking. Well, no, but as M169 was, or yeah, M160, whoever was saying it. Yeah, the idea that tech is bad. Like tech is he's making a solid point. He's making a good point. Like if you don't, especially when you think about the standard. So if the standard is that every kid gets a Chromebook and there is a particular school that doesn't, then it's not about do we need the Chromebook to learn. It's about we are teaching kids to learn on a Chromebook, and so they need that to work. It's the same thing as a calculator. It's like you don't need a calculator to do math, but if you're learning how to do calculus, and you need to know how to operate those things. You need to use the formulas and all that. So the soul agrees with culture. So we're bombarded with an amount of information like never before, and evolution certainly can't keep up with that. Oh, hell no.
Society, that with like a little bit of a help, they could actually achieve more and do better for all of society.
Do you disagree with that, Opus?
So I think that on the list of priorities, when it comes to education, the availability of technology is actually fairly low on the list of priorities.
Sure. The
Meaning
two
that
things I've heard are food availability and I think air conditioning, I think are the two biggest ones that I hear, but sure.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing in terms of education itself, not just the physical facilities that we're talking about, would actually be two-parent family households.
Sure.
And see again, but now I don't like this. I don't like this because now both of you are trying to drag the conversation away from the as Ben, pointed out, but then kind of did his own pivot. Like, okay, now we're talking about the physical facilities, not the level of the education that the children are getting. But then he switches to single parent households or two-parent households. Like, I get it that's all right, but that's not an answer to a different question. Like, yes, everything is connected. If you're smarter, you're probably going to do better in school than somebody who's less smart. If you have two parents, you're probably going to do better in school than somebody who has one parent. But that's too nebulous for us to really be like, oh, well, you just get two parents in the household. Like, okay, but there's not two parents in the household. Just because that would be the best thing doesn't mean that's a solution to the problem that we are facing. I said Ben is about to make the best point. Two parents is the place to start. I mean, I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Yeah, I don't disagree with the point, but that's not a solution to the problem at hand. Just do better is not a solution. Culture Pop said, and the scary thing is that they know how to use this stuff to manipulate us. And they've trained us all to call such statements and thinking conspiracy theory. Yep. We've been, oh man, that is probably in terms of terms that had strength, that just, whittled down to nothing. I think racism is probably at the top of that. Nazi is probably number 2. And conspiracy theory is number 3. Like, a conspiracy theorist used to be like something scary. And now it's just, oh, you read something. Got it. So the soul said food and energy. Technology to me would come after that. Yeah, I again, especially if we're talking about the relativity, as I was just saying, that if everybody is learning how to do things in this manner, and you don't know how to do it in this manner, then when you go out into the world, everybody's going to expect you to know how to do it in this manner. And there's not as many things that you could just do whatever way you want. So I don't like that he's trying to, again, just pivot the conversation to, well, we need two-parent households, because he knows that's where he's going to have a lot more ground to argue. Because the education is not as simple. It's not as sexy. I don't like it. I'm listening to some parental involvement in early education is far more important than access to tech. I mean, again, I agree with that. I agree with that for sure. But we are, it's exactly. Shout out to Rhett in action. Welcome to the party, brother. You just joined the Discord. How you liking the Discord? Another awesome YouTuber just dropped the link to his channel. Welcome to the party. Christian said, as soon as my parents divorced, my dad was gone. I didn't give a fuck about school until I found an incredible teacher my senior year. It was the only person who got me back into school. Well, no, that's actually a great, because here's the thing. There's way more parents that are divorced than there are teachers like the ones that you're talking about. And when we're talking about education, we don't have the power to keep parents together. So that is not a solution. People will separate on their own. So you have to now address the fact that there are children who don't have two parents. And just say, well, you should have had two parents. That's not a solution. That's not a solution. And 169 said 2 uninvolved parents is worse than having 1 involved parent. Great. Culture Pop said reality is the dirty, crazy thing now. Oh, yeah, like reality is the crazy, dirty. Yeah, exactly. Hey, shout out to Mr. Slim. Welcome to the parties. You don't believe the news? Filthy conspiracy theorist. That's what it is. That's what it is. Exactly. Good teachers make a good impact. Good teachers are part of the education system, part of the education conversation. Better training for teachers, more funding if necessary, taking a look at the curriculums, all that type of stuff. Nobody is saying that having one parent is better than less than 2 parents. Nobody is saying that it's not better to have two parents in the household. What I am saying is that make sure you have two parents in the household is not a solution to a child with divorced parents who is in school. That is a different conversation.
About would actually be two-parent family households.
Sure.
Communities that have fathers in them is actually the number one decisive, according to Roland Fryer and many studies done on this particular topic. And the idea that money alone, that investment of resources is the top priority in schooling is belied by the fact that LAUSD, which is where I went to school when I was younger, they pour an enormous amount of money into LAUSD. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars very often per student, and it does not result in better schooling outcomes. And so when you say, if we could give every kid an iPad, would you give every kid an iPad? The question is not, if I had a replicator machine from Star Trek, would I give everybody an enormous amount of stuff? Sure, I would. Every resource is finite. Every resource is limited, and you have to prioritize.
Right. And yeah, this is talking about, again, get rid of No Child Left Behind. Oh, my God. What a whiff. What was that? W? God damn. And like, again, just like everything else that seems to be like, oh, you're not doing as well, so let's try to change the playing field to make it more even. All it does is hurt the people who are doing well. You are always going to have failures. You are always going to have people at the bottom of the social status, the economic status, and the socioeconomic status. There's always going to be classes. So instead of trying to erase the fact that there are classes, we should address the fact that there are classes instead of just races, right?
Stuff. Sure, I would. Every resource is finite. Every resource is limited, and you have to prioritize what are the outcomes that you seek in terms of the means with which you are seeking them. And
okay, so just to take him on his own point, so if your solution is make sure there's two parents in the household, and we now have millions of students who only have one parent, how exactly is that addressing their education at all?
And so, again, I think that the question is I quibble with the premise of the question, which is that, again, the chief injustice when it comes to education on the list of injustices is lack of availability to technology, or that it's a funding problem. I just don't think that's the case.
Sure. And I can half agree with you there, but I don't think any amount of changes in the schools will create two-parent households. Right.
Shout out to Air Dr. Nappy. Welcome to the party. Yeah, we are at 50-50 with who would win in an MMA fight between Ben Shapiro and Destiny. I don't know what you guys are smoking. I really, honestly, as much as I love Ben Shapiro, as much as I disagree with Destiny, Ben Shapiro in a fight?
Come on, man.
Mr. Slip, welcome to the party, Air Dr. Nappy. Mr. Slip said school choice would be so pog. Is that what that says? Or POG? Is that a new slang? Sorry, I'm old. I don't know. Like imagine high schools competing with each other. Yeah, I mean that's I don't actually understand what the position against school choice even is. I don't like why. Why would you not want that?
Right, we can't bring it.
I totally agree with you.
So
that's why I think that the fundamental educational problem is not, in fact, a schooling problem. I think that it pre-exists that.
Sure. But then I feel like this is kind of the conservative merry-go-round where it's like, what can we do to help with schools? So two of the things that I've seen, I think that are usually brought up in research is one is air conditioning, that children in hotter environments just don't learn as well. And then the second one is access to food. So like kids that are given like a breakfast or a lunch.
Opus. Oh, man. I mean, at least you're honest about it. But that's disheartening. That's disheartening. Is that what we do on this channel? We just go with our tribe? I'm disappointed. Culture Pop said Destiny should be able to take him in a fight RL. But knowing what we know about Destiny, it's hard to have much faith in him. Rhett says Ben would not fight. He would use his psychology to make the opponent not fight him. But his opponent is Destiny. So they're like, I mean, he knows how to debate as good as the rest of them, whether you agree with him or not. So let's all get rid of the DOE, the Department of Education, standardized tests, etc., and let the states and localities decide what is best. It would take a lot, but I think it could be done. I generally agree. I mean, obviously, it's going to be different depending on where you are. But the problem is when, and again, I agree with the caveat that we have to then account for kids in California are going to be learning different things than kids in North Dakota and different things than kids in Florida and all that stuff. So yes, I do think it needs to be localized, but there has to be some through line. Oh shit. Oh. When you're right, you're right. When you're right, you're right. End of poll. Ben Shapiro wins. And we now have a comment of the night from Guam Tech. Coming in hot. Welcome to the party. He is standing up. Anyway, welcome to the party, brother. Guam Tech said, no child left behind. Just means drop the averages needed to pass so more students will make it through, regardless of merit or work. It's the reason we have high schoolers who can't even read now. Yup. Super facts. Welcome to the party, brother. Mr. Sub said, to the death, Destiny wins. But if he can say uncle, Ben wins. So you think that Ben is going to tap out Destiny? And okay, all right, fair enough. I would say federal standards without big federal spending. That is that is the issue. And that is a non-issue if you have high federal standards without big spending. The question is, one, how do you get there, and what does that even look like? Right? Coach said, I've had my children in school since 2007, and they've all done over the year, and I've had my kids in school since 2007, and all they've done over the years is make it easier for the kids to pass. Yep. Shout out to Trey Williams. Welcome to the party. So my only problem with school choice is you end up with a good school having so many students. I went to a school where my senior class alone was 2,900 students. And so I don't know, obviously the particulars about your school, but how it should work with school choice is that then the surrounding schools will have their reason for kids to go there and reason to invest in whatever. And so the people can then vote to have more funding from the state to the school to have it be competitive. But that's after we lower all the prices of everything because the government's just not completely footing the bill for whatever school. So I do hear you, but I don't think that any of those 2,900 students would have had anywhere else to go. Where if you have school choice, then it's not just, bad neighborhood, bad school. Maybe for a while, but, ideally, at least, that's the way it's supposed to work. But welcome to the party, brother. Christian said, I'll put my money on a conservative any day. They don't pussyfoot. They stand on their views. I'd imagine it would be the same in the ring. I don't know, guys. I mean, Guantac, you definitely get the point that Destiny can't even fight for his girl. That's the end. That's the end of the argument. But just saying. Yep. Oh God, that was bad, right? All right, let's check. Oh, hey, we got Kerm in the building. Welcome to the party, sir. Welcome to the party. So I wish one of Lex's editors made it so the video could be incrementally sped up. So by the time we're at we're 2 hours in, people just realize, wait, I didn't select 1.5 playback speed. Well, they do have that, but yeah, I don't know if I watched this on 2x. I don't think y'all can handle it. I wish y'all could. That was a big thing in the beginning. I was always putting on 1.25, maybe kick it up to 1.5 if somebody was talking slow. But then I got some advice. Shout out to Dr. Evil Genius of the Talking Shit podcast. He was like, bro, you can't do that. Like maybe you're watching whatever, but you're trying to show it to everybody else. So it wasn't working. But hey, if you think you can handle Destiny and Ben Shapiro at 2x, we will do a members only stream and we will make that happen. Welcome to the party, brother. So wouldn't they be learning different things if history wasn't being rewritten before our eyes? Teach facts and not ideology. Then the basics would be the same throughout the country, right? True, but I mean, even the way that, just to take slavery, which is the topic du jour about education, even the way that we talk about slavery is different in different schools. and that is now creating, it's creating and the grounds for a different ideology. Because an ideology is supposedly based on the facts. So if you have the facts that, it was all the white men that got in a boat and went over to Africa and stole a bunch of black people and came back, well, that's going to lead to a very different ideology. As to when you ask, well, wait a minute. They just like stole people? Or did they buy them from other black people? Well, that's a very different thing. So I agree with you that you shouldn't be teaching ideology, but the facts that you teach will lead to a certain ideology. And, I mean, I don't really 100% know what I mean, what that means. But my point, again, is just that I think there needs to be, in terms of an agreement on what the facts are, the something that is solid throughout the country, even if the curriculum isn't exactly the same. Culture Pop said, one of my dogs wanted to tell me that she thinks Morty is hot. Hey, Morty, you getting a girl? All right, we'll give you a peanut for looking hot. Just like in college, Morty gets all the attention and not me. He says thank you very, very much. Mr. Slip said, my experience with No Child Left Behind, 4th grade teacher got in trouble for letting the kids who knew how to do basic math go through advanced mathematics in the back of the class. Well, based AF. That's that. I mean, but again, we don't really want to be putting teachers in the position where they have to do that. It should be part of the curriculum that, hey, some kids are going to be better at this than others, and some kids are just going to be smarter at all of this stuff. They're going to learn faster, and you have to be able to account for that. Instead of just saying, well, we'll just, keep it at the baseline of whatever the dumbest kid is, and then everybody will be, then no one will get left behind. So I'm not sure if my religion teacher should have had such a close relationship with me, but I wasn't complaining. There you go. Moon said, schools need funding. Well-funded schools have great test scores, and students tend to do better in life. It isn't rocket science. Agreed. Here's a packet that covers up to college. Go in the back and be quiet. I didn't learn anything till pre-calc 6 years later. God damn. So, meaning, I thought you were saying that the kids so instead of being left behind, they got more. I'm confused. Open said, No Child Left Behind and Common Core curriculum are a disaster. Yeah, luckily, I heard about Common Core, but obviously I don't have any kids, and I was way older than that by the time that was around. But didn't they get rid of that already? Because it was so bad, Common Core? Obis goes on to say, this is the problem with the DOE. Some highly placed bureaucrat who's probably just an administrator making a policy for the schools of a nation of 400 million people. Yep. All right, let's dive back in here.
That are usually brought up in research is one is air conditioning, that children in hotter environments just don't learn as well. And then the second one is access to food. So like kids that are given like a breakfast or a lunch that's provided at school, like increases educational outcomes. Now, I agree that neither of these things might be determinative in like, 20% of kids were graduating and now 80% of kids are graduating, or these kids are all going, from with their GEDs into the workforce. And now these kids are all suddenly becoming engineers. But in terms of where we can help, do you think there should be like some minimum threshold or minimum baseline of like, at the very least, every school should have a non-leaky gym, or every school should have, if children can't afford lunch or breakfast, like some sort of food provided, or every school should have these like baseline things?
So again, I'm going to.
So let's just keep, basically, Destiny just laid out the same thing that I said, that and again, what it would look like if I were to actually plan that out. And if he were to plan that out, it would probably be very different. But he's saying there needs to be some baseline throughout the country if we're going to if it's going to work. Opa said school lunch should be a given, but again, even that program has been mismanaged at the highest level. Yeah, I mean, what hasn't? What hasn't? That's what happens when there is no competition. That's what happens when there is no school choice. Nobody has to do anything. The kids fail, you just pass them. The food is shit. Whatevs. The playground has fucking asbestos and lead paint, and they don't care.
To quibble with the premise of the question, because I think that when it comes to, for example, food insecurity, school food
Thanks, Obama.
programs Again, you can always pour money into any program and at the margins create change. I mean, there's
Sure.
no doubt that pouring money onto anything will create change in a marginal way. The question is how large is the margin and how big is the movement, right? So the delta is what I'm looking at. And so I think that you're starting at a second order question, which is what if we ignore what I
But so are you, Ben, with the parents.
would think are the big primary questions of education, namely family structure, value of education at home, how much you have parents who are capable or willing to help with homework. What are the incentive structures we can set up for a society that actually facilitate that? How local communities take ownership of their schools is a big one.
Shout out to Guamtech and shout out to Mood. Guamtech, I appreciate Mood's take every show, to be honest. He forced us to actually think about what we're saying and keeps the echo chamber broken up well. Shout out. Shout out to Mood. Let's all take a drink to Mood. Dilly dilly. To Mood and anybody else who's watching who maybe doesn't agree with me, doesn't agree with us, and maybe if you're not saying much, whatever, but if you're here and you don't like everything that I'm saying, which I don't know how you could. I got a lot of opinions all over the place. But it's shout out to Mood and to all of you because it wouldn't be what I want it to be if it's just a bunch of people disagreeing with me. Now, of course, you guys where we generally agree, you guys will give me shit when you disagree with me. But because we essentially have a similar view on how society should run, it does, it might not be the tightest echo chamber, but it could still be a bit bigger, yet still an echo chamber. So shout out to Mood and anyone else who is here to, break up the echo chamber. Air Doctor said, for people that don't know, delta just means rate of change. Yep. Ova said, I would be far more interested in like Big Brother, Big Sister programs for kids who are identified as having home problems and lack parents' interest with their education. Yeah, I mean, whatever happened to that? Is that still a thing? The Big Brother, Big Sister? I haven't heard of that in, unless it was on TV, I haven't heard about that in forever. In forever. That was that
society that actually facilitate that. How local communities take ownership of their schools is a big one, right? All of these issues we're ignoring in favor of, say, air conditioning or lunch programs. And so in a vacuum, if you say air conditioning and lunch programs, sounds great in a vacuum. In terms of prioritization of values and cost structure, are those the things that I think are going to move the needle in a major way in terms of public policy?
Do it. For real, there's so think about, all that we're talking about. What these kids have to deal with. We had a shitty time as teenagers and school children as it was. I know I definitely could have used I have a big brother, but I could have definitely used a big brother in every sense of the word. But I feel like I'm fine. But these kids today, I say do it, brother.
I do not. And in fact, I think that many of them end up being disproportionate wastes of money. I mean, I've talked before pretty controversially about the fact that an enormous amount of school lunch programs are thrown out. Like an enormous amount of that food ends up in the garbage can. Is there a better way to do that? If there is a better way to do it, then I'm perfectly willing to hear about that better way to do it. But it seems to me that one of the big flaws in the way that many people of the left approach government is, what if we hit every gnat with a hammer? And my question is, what if the gnat isn't even the problem? What if there is a much bigger substructure problem that needs to be solved in order to, if you're shifting deck chairs on the Titanic, sure, you can make the Titanic slightly more balanced.
Okay, fine. But sticking with the net and saying like, I got to throw out these freaking alcohol things. I got fucking fruit flies and gnats all over the place. So yeah, it would be a bad idea, especially in front of all my equipment and shit, to take a hammer and try to smash each one. That doesn't mean that I should instead find, that I should. Hold on. It's there. Because he's trying to say that, smashing the gnats with a hammer is not a good solution. And then tries to say that, well, it's either it's not gnats or it shouldn't be a hammer in the first place. When you're just saying, yeah. So he's saying, well, it's not really gnats. That's the problem. What we have a hammer, everything looks like nails. Then the solution you're looking for is a different way to address the gnats. That's where this should be going.
It's because the deck chairs are slightly better oriented. But the real question is the water that's gaping into the Titanic, right?
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%. But again, I feel like we're on the conservative merry-go-round then of never wanting to address
That's not a
any.
conservative merry-go-round. I can give you 10 ways.
Well, sure, but so like here would be the merry-go-round. I would say that like there's a minimum funding for schools that I think would help children, and then we go, well, the thing that would help them the most is two-parent households. And I go, okay, well, two-parent households actually aren't the problem. The issue is access to things like birth controls, that people don't have children early on. And it's like, but the issue isn't actually birth control. The issue is actually you need a certain amount of money to move out early and to get married, and then to have a two-parent household. So it's actually like economic opportunity.
No,
well, it's not.
Yep.
You know,
no, just two-parent.
I completely agree with Destiny on this one. That you're just because there are societal problems, just because there are larger problems, does not mean that there are a smaller band-aid solutions that should be happening simultaneously while we are working on the big problem. If a kid, you know, doesn't have two parents and also doesn't have food to eat and also has to go to a hot school, then saying, well, no, we shouldn't give them air conditioning and food. We should focus on making sure that the next kid has parents. Like, that is not a solution.
Households. That's it.
but like, what are the
There you go. Culture Pop with Beehive saying, damn, I actually agree with Destiny for once. And that's good. The guy is smart. You should, I mean, there's a lot of times you shouldn't agree with him, but he's right about a lot of shit.
Well, before you're married and have babies.
Sure.
Done.
That's great. We can say that and try to fight against, you know, how.
Same thing. Did you probably missed it already. We went around the merry-go-round that Destiny's saying. Again, you may have missed it.
Well, before you're married and have babies.
Don't fuck people before you're married and don't
Sure.
Done.
and have babies. Yeah, okay. Done. That's not done because there's already a lot of people who already did that. And it's certainly not the child's fault. I'm hoping that Ben Shapiro is not saying, well, your parents got divorced or your parents had you out of wedlock, therefore you don't deserve the same education as everybody else. I hope that's not what he's saying, but that really sounds like it and is playing to Destiny's point that it's just a merry-go. You're not actually giving any solutions. I can give you a solution right now. Don't have sex before you get married. That is a solution to people who don't have kids yet. That is not a solution to people who already have kids or the kids that are already born and don't have two parents. Shout out to Mike W in the building. Welcome to the party. Exactly, sir. Multiple things can be right at the same time. There's not only one fact at any given time. Welcome to the party, brother.
That's great. We can say that and try to fight against, you know, however many hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, but people will have sex and people will make babies.
And then they used to get married.
Fine, but they're not, Ben. That's the problem. Do you think are you under the impression that people don't know what marriage is? That's not a solution to the issue that we're talking about. There's a slip that said the minimum incentive for two parents that don't have jobs should be to raise them together versus getting a government check for being a single parent. I agree, but you know, I mean, when somebody's offering you money, it's hard to say no.
Vast majority of people in this country with kids used to be married. The vast majority of people with kids in this country now are not married.
Exactly why what you're saying is not a solution.
Increasingly.
But
That is
a lot
obviously
of
a societal change.
Yeah,
Something
true.
changed. It wasn't human evolution.
But a lot of those.
Yeah, and that's not to say that this isn't the case. Again, two things can be true at the same time. Culture Pop is absolutely right. The problem is that they are trying to destroy the family as a unit. They want you to think polyamory is okay, and you know, again, having kids out of wedlock. That's why I agree with the sentiment. I agree with the idea that we need to make sure that the culture changes so that it's not as acceptable to have children out of wedlock, to be a single parent. That doesn't help a child who is 6 years old, whose mom is a thought. That does not help that child. That's what we're talking about. I know what Ben's point is. I understand that. I agree that he is right. But that's not a solution to the problem. If I tell you my arm is hurting, and I tell you, well, you know, then you should have had more calcium when you were a kid. Okay, maybe you're right, but that doesn't help the fact that my arm is broken. Virgil said, I never even got sex after I was married, and that's why I divorced her. You stupid. That
things in terms of resting on whether or not people get married have to do with financial decisions. Do you have the money?
People are worse off now than they were 50, 60 years ago when the marriage rates were higher.
People are delaying the start of their careers because education is becoming increasingly important.
So in
facts, that's super facts. We all, why do you think we're all yelling, stop going to college, stop going to college? Why do you think Kevin Samuels had, I got a PhD. That's become the value, and it's not valuable.
In other words, people are richer now and they have more education now, and yet they're having more babies out of wedlock now because they're richer and have more education.
I'm saying that one of the biggest indicators for whether or not somebody's willing to get married is how much money both people are making if they can move out of their household. People don't tend to want to get married at 22 when they've just finished college, when they don't have the money to move out and they can't afford a house.
Because we have changed the moral status of marriage in the
Yes, Ben, you are correct that we have changed the moral status of marriage and the ideas around having sex and all of those things. But that doesn't make him wrong. What he said is correct. You're not here. You're talking to somebody else. There's arguably a man sitting right in front of you, saying things. Listen to him and respond to those things.
Too, when they've just finished college, when they don't have the money to move out and they can't afford a house.
Because we have changed the moral status of marriage in the culture, meaning that everyone, poor, rich, and in between, used to get married. That is, by the way, a huge percentage of marriages in the United States used to be what they would call shotgun marriages, meaning that somebody knocked somebody up, and because they did not want the baby to be born outside of a two-parent household, they would then get married.
I mean, am I wrong? Can you explain to me the line of what the solution is from starting with have two parents when we're talking about the current state of the education system for children who are already in the education system? Mike said, life is not an off and on switch. It's more like a dimmer. Bingo. Love that. Love that.
Do we think that shotgun marriages, though, are a way to bring back equilibrium to education?
Yes.
That if we...
Yes.
I mean, come on, bro. That's such a stretch. Do I think that there would be a slight correlation between the culture of shotgun marriages and the increase in education? Maybe, probably, but the degree of just not liberty. That's not liberty. I understand that you don't you wouldn't be in favor. I guarantee you he's not going to come up here. And now because I said that, he is going to come up here. God damn it. All right. Hi, Baba. Can you lay down, please? We're doing a show. Yeah. Thank you. Culture Pop said, my first marriage was a shotgun wedding. Well, hey, at least you went through with it. But again, when you say first, it sounds like you're not together anymore. So how much does that really work? How much does that really work? Oh, shit. Oba said, I think you might not like the solution. I think we are seeing essentially what will be a lost generation, and there is not a lot we can do to fix that today. The damage is already done. Okay, fine. I don't disagree with that. That's not then you can say we don't have a solution, but you can't give a solution to another problem and say this is the solution to problem A when it's the problem to problem C. Hey, shout out to Ham. I'm gonna call you Ham. Welcome to the party. Ham DMYC? Ham DNYC. Okay, I think we got that. Welcome to the party. Which one are you talking about? Quantex said, as much as I agree with Ben, people getting married wouldn't help the crony capitalism that has ruined people's purchasing power. Sure, morals could have slowed it, but there are problems it doesn't fix. Exactly. You're having a different conversation, Ben.
Marriages, though, are a way to bring back equilibrium to education.
Yes.
That if we...
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. 100%.
Again, and I mean, perfectly said.
Do we
a
think
child
that
deserves a mother and a father?
Sure,
because that is the basis for all of this, including education.
Do we think that shotgun marriages are, well, let's say this. Do we think that that's a reasonable direction that society would ever take? Or is this like...
Yes, it was the reasonable direction for nearly all of modern history.
But history moves in one direction, right?
Why?
Because of time?
I mean, people don't think that's
That's such a weird way to phrase it. Like, you would say time moves in one direction, which creates history. I get what he's saying, but like, yeah, he's again, the formerly blue-haired liberal polycuck, whatever, is right. The fact is that you're not going to go back to a society where only people who are married are having sex and having children. For better or worse, at least for the time being, that is not a solution to what we are talking about. That would be great. And yes, we should work on moving towards a culture where only people who are in committed relationships, ideally marriage, but I don't want to get married, are having children. That doesn't address that, what Opus said, 2 decades, 2 generations? That doesn't, a lost generation. So the what we are asking for is what we can do with that lost generation. I understand that he's saying the best thing we can do is change for the next generation, but he's trying to have his cake and eat it too, and say that the change for the next generation is the solution to fixing the lost generation. That's not how that works.
In what way is that?
And I don't think we've ever regressed
yes,
social standards back to let's go 100 years back and do things that used to exist before. I think
It doesn't work that way.
it's weird. The entire left right now is arguing that we regress social standards by rejecting Roe versus Wade. So
Right, but they're wrong about that.
that's obviously not true.
the Roe versus Wade is not a social
Okay.
standard; it's a Supreme Court ruling. Number
Yes,
one.
but
Number
then-
two, if you read the actual majority opinion on Roe v. Wade, we can see that socially we actually never made huge progress on how society viewed abortion. This has always been an incredibly divisive thing.
So nobody, I agree that there are, getting on the local level is so local community what? I agree with you. Local community what? That's not doing what? That's the question on the table. That's what they should be discussing, and they're not. Hamdi said his kids are in private school. He's bullshit again. Which one are you talking about? I think they both have kids in a private school. Or does Ben even have kids? I don't even know. But I don't know how that changes anything.
Right. Even that was, I think, part of Alito's writing on it was that things like gay marriage, for instance, we've kind of moved past and it's not really as debated anymore. But abortion was never a settled topic, despite Roe v. Wade.
It should have been. If all y'all left and right shut the fuck up, then we would not have any states that allow 9-month abortions. Good job.
The
Despite
notion that
Casey.
the arc of history constantly moves in one direction is belied by nearly all of the 20th century.
What do we mean by that?
I mean,
In
the
terms
first
of,
half
like,
of the
women's
20th
rights,
century is
civil
filled with
rights?
barbarism, communism, Nazism. All of that was a regression from what was happening at, for example, the beginning of the 19th century. And
I'll accept that. I think okay. I was thinking in a different context that kind of what Destiny was saying. But yes, okay. So all of the horrors of the 20th century certainly were a regression. I will concede that for sure. Mr. Slip said how to fix if a school system fails, like a better GED program. Are you asking me a question or are you answering a question? Shout out to Joe. Welcome to the party. Said Ben's wife is a doctor. I think he said she's a doctor. We're just watching it now, so stick around and I will let you know. Welcome to the party. Gontex said Destiny is trying to mouth diarrhea his way away from the actual argument by focusing on Roe v. Wade. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. I think that's an example of what they were talking about. But
not
What
the
is
arc
it?
of history.
Really, as part of society, the Roe
The entire left right now is arguing that we regress social standards by rejecting Roe versus Wade. So that's
Ben brought it up.
obviously not true.
the Roe versus Wade is not a social standard; it's a Supreme Court ruling. Number
Yes,
one.
but
Number
then-
two, if you read the actual majority opinion on Roe v. Wade, we can see that socially we actually never made huge progress on how society viewed abortion. This has always been an incredibly divisive thing, right? Even that was, I think, part of Alito's writing on it was that things like gay marriage, for instance, we've kind of moved past and it's not really as debated anymore. But abortion was never a settled topic, despite Roe v. Wade.
The
despite
notion of
Casey.
the arc of history.
Yeah, I don't see how is that? Ben's the one who brought up Roe v. Wade, man. I mean, you guys, you got to be aware of this shit. I love you guys. Some of you guys are definitely smarter than me, but this is what we want to avoid. This is just a not accurate assessment of what we just watched. So as a solution, saying if a school, a better GED program wouldn't be the worst thing. But that would be a very small thing. I think it has to do, we're looking at the kids that are in school now, the kids who are the lost generation, the kids who will be failed, that yes, by the next generation, we'll have a new way of doing school so that those kids aren't a victim of this. But the kids who are a victim of this, what is the solution? And so Oprah said, local community. Okay, great. What about the local community? Because just saying local community is just a buzzword. As Democrats don't want to pass legislation on abortion because it energizes their base. Facts. Joe said, yeah, he does ramble fast when he gets stumped, does Destiny. You should see him with Andrew Wilson. I mean, again, I don't disagree with this, but that's not what just happened. He does have, yeah, I thought he had kids. So yeah, they all have kids. They both have kids. They're both in private school.
It's not really as debated anymore, but abortion was never a settled topic, despite Roe v. Wade.
The notion that
Casey.
the arc of history constantly moves in one direction is belied by nearly all of the 20th century.
There you go, Opus. So the solution to address the lost generation would be public works programs that relatively uneducated people can do to contribute to society. That's great. So then just even saying that, now I can be like, oh, so maybe community colleges will get a little extra funding to have, like not just classes for college age students and older, but for young kids to actually learn the shit that they're not learning in school. Bring back home ec and woodworking and stuff like that. That's a great idea. Why did Opus say it? But Ben and Destiny can't give one single thing without changing and pivoting to where they want to have the conversation. It's just, I mean, when they're an adult, they're an adult. Like, how much of a handout do they need? Well, we're not talking about adults. We're talking about children in school. Were you a child? Did you go to school? That's what we're talking about. Guantek said, Ben brought it up, but Destiny is going so into detail that he's taking away from the argument he made, which is society doesn't revert. Ben just swiftly proved it wrong. Just my opinion. Fair enough. Agree to disagree.
The arc of history constantly moves in one direction is belied by nearly all of the 20th century.
Are community colleges the same thing as trade school? I don't think so. I think there'd be it would be similar, but typically the way that it works is that it's a much cheaper alternative where it's usually a county that has the teachers get paid less, there's less resources, but it's there. It is a resource. And honestly, because of the BS with so many of the four-year institutions, it could be a better, you could get a better education going to a community college than a four-year university. So in that way, they definitely could be like trade schools. It's not the same thing, but for the sake of the conversation, you can think about it in the same way. Oh, so they're going to pivot, so we might as well go along for the ride. All right. Mr. Slip said, when the school fails and you turn 18, how much of a handout do we give the kid whose school failed for them? None, because they're out of school. There's two parts to this. One is that it's a child, and two, that they're in school. One, that they're a child, and two, that they're in school. We're not talking about adults. We are talking about children. Do you think that people who are 6 right now are going to be adults next year? We are talking about children. Shout out to David. Welcome to the party. Said to Opus, that solution sounds quite like the Service Corps proposal Buttigieg had during the 2020 primary. Interesting. I mean, again, I didn't know much about Buttigieg at all, but I'm always open to to see what people are how people are trying to address this issue. And I do also want to give David a shout out. Not only has he been in the chat, but he's actually been on screen with me. Another lefty in here. We're giving props to those who come and break up the echo chamber. So we very, very, very much appreciate you. Shout out to Tyler Smith in the building. Welcome to the party. Yeah, so trade school is something specific, and a community college is just a different type of college. But again, for the sake of conversation, if you don't have community colleges, then a trade school would fit kind of what we're saying. Yeah, exactly. So I'm talking about how to get a more permanent solution than just focusing on a small group of kids. But that's the problem. It is only a small group of kids that if we change it for the future and we have people who are adults now, then there is only a small group of people who are kids right now. That's what those small group of kids, that's what we're talking about. They are children and they are in school. That's who we are talking about.
What do we mean by that?
I mean,
in
the
terms
first
of
half
like
of the
women's
20th
rights,
century is
civil
filled with
rights,
barbarism, communism, Nazism, all of that was a regression from what was happening at, for example, the beginning of the 19th century and the 20th century.
Yeah, I definitely take that back. That was Ben was definitely right on that.
But in what way?
Nazism and communism weren't a regression from what was going on in 1905?
These are, well, in terms of like communism being a regression, for instance, I'm not a communist, but like the industrialization of the Soviet Union happened under a communist society.
Yes, Mr. Slip. We can also we can help those kids while also helping future kids. But then those future kids or the kids today get less focus because of we're trying to solve not leave any child behind. Sound familiar? You can't say like, yes, we want to help those kids and we want to help future kids. We want to help adults. We want to help people in general. But you can't, that's not how politics works. It's just like, well, I want these fixed. And so we're going to say local community and that's going to create utopia. You have to take specific issues and come up with specific solutions. Like Obis did. He said, yeah, let's get kids the opportunity to engage more with trade type education. Brilliant idea. Brilliant idea. Culture Pop said, I just want them to suddenly stop talking, lock eyes, and then kiss.
Beta. Gay. Come on, man.
What? Oh, hell no.
I'm good.
Industrialization.
The murder of tens of millions of people.
Yeah, there's
I consider that a regression.
Sure.
He's coming for you. He's coming for
Which is
you.
what you're talking about now, moral regression. And you're suggesting that moral regression, I wouldn't term a return to traditional values a moral regression. You would. But your suggestion is that history only moves in one direction. And I'm suggesting that history does not only move in one direction. It tends to move actually back and forth.
Yeah, originally I was disagreeing with Ben, but he won me over on that one.
Sure. I don't think that all of history moves in one direction. There are going to be wars. There are going to be times of peace. I think in general, we're more peaceful now than we have been in the past. But I think when we look at the way that people live their lives, I think that we tend to move in a certain direction socially. So when it comes to things like racism or when it comes to things like slavery or women's rights, I think that there are two huge things that probably aren't changing in the US. And one is access to contraception and one is women working jobs.
And here's the other thing that, so he's right about that, is that when it comes to the giving and the extending of human rights, that typically only moves in one direction. We don't typically there's not somebody who's typically equal under the law and then we're like, actually you're half a person now, unless it's 2020 and you didn't get jabbed. I'm with you, purebloods, I'm with you. But other than that, typically we give more rights to more people. And so to his point, I guess not to his point, but all these things that he's listening, fetuses are probably going to be among that group that eventually get those rights. So Mr. Slip said, specific issue. The current generation of kids are failing. My solution would be a better GED program for kids who didn't pass school. I think trade skills would be amazing in the GED program. But isn't a GED specifically for those who didn't graduate high school? So if we're talking about a GED program, then that's not addressing the kids who stayed in school. Unless I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I got a diploma, okay?
I think that these two things are probably huge things that are moving us off of shotgun marriages or getting married very early on. And I don't see those. Do you think that those two things are going to change fundamentally?
First of all, what the data tend to show is that actually more highly educated people, as you were saying, tend to get married more. So if the idea is that women getting an education somehow throws them off marriage, it's the opposite. Usually,
but those women
are not
getting,
educated.
But those women aren't getting shotgun marriages. Those women aren't having children.
Yeah,
when
but
they're
now
18,
you're shifting the topic. My topic was how to get more people married, and what I'm and then you suggested.
Yeah, indeed, that is your topic: how to get more people married. I don't know how we got there from. I mean, I do know how we got there, but that's certainly not fixing education for the children who are in school right now. Obis said, I agree with Mr. Slip. I think identifying kids and moving them to GED programs sooner and in trades would be a good program. So that's what it became. So is it more akin to like an ROTC thing where it's like you're not in the army, but you're on track, and we're kind of preparing you? Is that what it started out as?
That higher levels of education are delaying marriage and making it less probable. And what I'm telling you, because this is what the data suggests, is that actually as you raise up the educational ladder, people tend to be married more than they are lower down on the educational ladder.
So if I got that wrong, then yeah, that is a specific issue and a specific solution. I love it. Between the GED programs and the community colleges, there's things that can be done. Then we can also have private non-government NGOs that do this stuff. This is how you change the culture without legislation. Now we're getting somewhere, guys. Now we're getting somewhere. Culture Pop would be Hobbs said marriage might be a touchy subject to Cuxtony. Oh, destiny. I said, I'm not sure what it started out as. I just know it was stigmatized, which is unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, if I knew that like it wasn't stigmatized beyond like just the way we think about it, there is no fucking way I would have finished high school. You're telling me that at least 2 years of my life I could have saved? Conte's like, shit, all I have is my GED. I'm sure all you can now understand why my uneducated ass sounds goofy. Yeah, all right. One of the smartest guys in here. Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm sorry, no, I'm so dumb, guys. Shut up. Mike W said we shouldn't care about getting more people married, but in committed relationships. I agree. Obviously, a religious person is going to see a big difference in that. But I think as far as we're talking about a solution to education, I think Ben would be okay with the long-term committed relationships over marriage, or excuse me, over just non-relationships. Mood said, all I would change is funding. We spend nothing on education and act confused when we end up dumb. But okay, so funding and what? What are you funding? Where is it coming from? What are we doing? And those are the questions that come up when we say all these things. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm so dumb. I'm so uneducated. Culture Pop said, I would have quit at 16 and got my diploma from the community college if I could do it over. I said, shit, me too. So, I don't know. In this day and age, I think less formal education and you have the more smart you are. Yep. Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way. But it is. Guys, if you're not already, please do hit that like button.
The educational ladder, people tend to be married more than they are lower down on the educational ladder. If you're a high school graduate, you're less likely to be married than if you're a postdoc.
I agree with you, but that's because
I mean, isn't that, are we really trying to make that causal relationship?
one of the biggest precursors to getting married is having like a level of economic stability. So as people get more educated, they obtain this economic stability, and then they're in a more comfortable position to explore more serious relationships.
There's another confound there.
I hate that the word conservative merry-go-round is now in my lexicon. Because he's right. I see it. We're just going round and round and not really talking about we're having the conversation. They are not having the conversation. David says it's not necessarily true that we don't spend a lot. We do, but most of it gets tied up in administration. And so that's why I ask, like, funding what? Because there's, like you said, there's a lot. A superintendent, oh, you making money, honey. But a teacher, maybe not so much. Not maybe, definitely not so much. Oba said I pay a small fortune on education every year. Property taxes can fuck right off. Yup. Mike said, I don't think we need to throw more money at education. We just need to make education a priority like America, not America, yikes, like China and Asian countries. Absolutely. And where does this all come from? From the ideas that we have as individuals, that when we go and have casual conversation, it's the thing that we say, I want this, I want that. And then when two people come together and they say, I want this and I want that, and then two more people come together, and now they're appealing to, when somebody's running for office, they're like, okay, who's out there? Oh, there's a giant group of people who are saying, we want education to be more of a priority. And okay, what exactly does that mean? But again, yeah, and that's a valid question. But that's something that we can, that's not an empty platitude. I think it does need to be defined, but I don't think that's an empty platitude. Mood said, so I asked about where the money goes. Mood said teacher salaries and materials for teaching. My sister's a high school teacher and has spent well over $4,000 of her own money on supplying students with equal opportunities. That's not good. That's not good. Because I'm sure as a high school teacher, your sister can easily just throw out $4,000 of her own money to do her job, right? No big deal. No problem. That's bullshit. China.
more educated, they obtain this economic stability, and then they're in a more comfortable position to explore more serious relationships.
There's another
and get married.
confound there. I mean, the confound is that
Mhm.
people in stable marriages tend to be the children of stable marriages. And there's only one way to break that cycle, which is to create a stable marriage. And that is something that is in everyone's hands. Again, this notion that it is somehow an unbreakable, unshatterable barrier to get married and have kids. I don't understand where this is coming from. Why is that such a challenge?
I don't.
Because I want to be a hot city girl. I gotta have my thought. Whatever. I gotta. I missed that one. That was almost good, but it wasn't. I apologize, guys.
Married and have kids. I don't understand where this is coming from. Why is that such a challenge?
I don't
not a
think it's
challenge.
unbreakable or unshatterable. The initial point was for school.
Is he gonna say
If we can
undesirable?
provide a minimum level of educational stuff for children, that'd probably be good. But when we retreat back to, well, it has to be the families that are fixed first. Fixing families is a multivariate problem.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
I am fine within my local
There you go.
community. We all vote.
Hold on.
Again, I've suggested
hold on.
that there's a difference between local, community, and federal.
Okay, wait. So what he was saying is that the let's run it back actually because I want to get his actual.
Well, it has to be the educational stuff for children, that'd probably be good. But when we retreat back to, well, it has to be the families that are fixed first. Fixing families is a multivariate problem.
Right. So there's a lot more that goes into fixing cultural ideas of what a family is and should be than what's in the curriculum. That's a much wider problem. It may not be any more difficult. It may not be. It's just there's a lot more factors to it. Mike said priority means making it super important to us. Poor Asian countries do better with education with less money. I'm saying that just throwing money at something doesn't make it better.
Bingo.
Yep. Oba said, I hate government getting into censorship, but banning TikTok might be a good first step. Unfortunately, as much as I love my TikTok, you are absolutely right, and I would support a ban. I've lost entire days on TikTok. It's just so good at showing you what you want to say. How did they know that I wanted to follow some dude who, took a 12 gauge in his mouth 6 months ago and lived through it? And I want to hear about that. How did you know? How did you know? But I agree with you. It is that bad. And I'm an adult who understands the more attention I give to bullshit, the more bullshit's going to come my way. So that's why my feed is probably 1,000,000 times better than your average high school. But that's exactly the point. Mr. Slips, I think the majority of babies out of wedlock is because most birth control sucks. Interesting take. I don't know about that. What? Anybody have any thoughts on this one?
To, well, it has to be the families that are fixed first. Fixing families is a multivariate problem that has so many.
I am fine within my local community. We all vote. Again, I've suggested that there's a difference between local, community, and federal. I'm fine with my local community voting for school lunches or air conditioning or whatever it is that we all agree to do, because the more local you get, the more homogeneity you get in terms of interest and the more interest you have in your neighbors. All of that's fine. I'm part of a very, very solid community. In our community, we give to each other. We have minimum standards of helping one another. All of that's wonderful. When it comes to the actual problem of education, what I object to in the political sphere, and this happens all the time, is everybody is arguing on top of the iceberg about how we can move the needle 0.5 percentage points, as opposed to the entire iceberg melting beneath them. And we just ignore that. And we pretend that that's just, sort of the natural consequence of things. The arc of history suggests that people are never going to get married again. Well, I mean, actually what the arc of history suggests, realistically speaking, is that the people who are not getting married are not going to be having kids. And what it also suggests, the people who are married are going to be having kids. And
that's definitely a solid point. That when you have so many divides on political lines of your views on abortion, your views on marriage, your views on polyamory, your views on transing yourself, your views on, did I say abortion? All these things, it's going to affect on a very wide scale. Your politics are there'll be a strong correlation between your politics and how many people like you are there. Because, people who are not married and not having kids and sterilizing themselves, not good. But I don't think birth control is the problem. I think the problem is we have destigmatized having babies out of wedlock and reward women for being single parents. Exactly. 100%. Mike said, disagree. There's multiple birth control tools you can use. Mr. Slip said the pill messes women up. And I use condoms because I'm responsible, but not because it makes me feel better. How many other guys will say no when the chick asks to take the condom off? Unfortunately, too many. But again, this is why this is not a solution to education, because now we're talking about not legislating, but controlling through social norms, controlling what people are doing in the bedroom. That's not a solution to a 6-year-old who is trying to learn math. Dilly to that. You're goddamn right. But as I've been saying, a huge reason why so many people who don't believe in God automatically go to the left is because so much of right-wing politics is wrapped up in religion. Mr. Samos, because it's a crazy turnoff if a host says that she likes it because girl, yeah. Would you guys take the male birth control pill? No. Put a 1 in the chat if you would. If you say yes, you would take the male birth control pill, and put a 2 if you would not. 1 is yes, 2 is no.
And so the demographic profile actually over time is rather going to shift toward people who are having lots and lots of kids. I'm married. I have 4 kids.
There we go. I knew he had kids. Exactly. Shout out to Culture Pop with B-Hop. Shame and stigma aren't always a bad thing. They aren't always a bad thing. And in fact, in many situations, they are not only a good thing, but a necessary thing. Are you really sitting here licking your asshole while you're sitting on me? This guy. And then he's going to want to lick my hand. Yeah, 100% agree, Culture Pop. All right. So Mike says no. Moot says a reluctant one. Explain that. Why is it reluctant? And if you're reluctant, then why would you? Because that's where I would go. I would, if I was going to do some type of birth control with my body, I would get a vasectomy. But why do you regret it? Comsex said no. They couldn't make female birth control safe. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, Opus is like, I would say the women shouldn't even take it. I agree. Wrap it up or don't fuck.
They're going to shift toward people who are having lots and lots of kids. I'm married. I have 4 kids. Everyone in my community is married. That's like minimum buy-in in my community is 4 kids. Okay. And so what's happening actually in terms of demographics is that the people who are more religious and getting married are having more kids. And so if you're talking about the arc of history shifting toward marriage, I would suggest that actually demographically over time, long periods of time, not over one generation, over long periods of time, the only cure for low birth rate is going to be the people who get married and have lots of kids.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with any of that.
Me
but
neither.
I'm just saying that, again, I know you're upset when I bring up the term merry-go-round. I think that there are good conversations to be had about people getting married because stable families produce stable children that are less likely to commit crime, that are more likely to go to school, that are more likely to be productive members of society, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to disagree with you on any of that.
But it doesn't address the 6-year-old who is in school right now. I agree with everything both of them are saying. I agree with everything that's been put out there. We've only gotten 20 minutes into this conversation so far, and I agree with every word, almost, has been every word that's been spoken. But so little of it has been about the actual topic that they're talking about. Yeah. Well, I mean, you definitely nut in her if you got a condom on. But that's the, I mean, that's, I don't know. That's the only question I have is why the vasectomy. And Culture Prop said, I wish I hadn't had a vasectomy because my current wife and I would like to had a child together. Oh, okay. So you had it at 26. Yeah. Remember Rollo Tomasi was like, get a vasectomy at 20?
What?
Yeah. That's going to be a hell no from me. David says, Ben talking about how great it is in his community with minimum 4 kid houses. I don't know. What? Ben talking about how great it is in his community with minimum 4 kid houses. I have no, this is going right over my head. Opus said, I just noticed that Ben talks with a lot of vocal fry, like an annoying upper class middle white woman. And I'll probably never be able to stand listening to him ever again. Okay. Welcome to the party. I mean, he's been like that. Oh, we got that one already. Shout out to Culture Pop. So, but wait a minute. Didn't now I know that they say it can be reversible, not that it is reversible, but have you looked to see if it's yours is reversible? David Banner said, did I say hello to you already? I don't know, but welcome to the party, David Banner. To that poor woman, all that Shapiro loving dry. Yep, she, as he has said, she does not have a WAP. Oh, God. That must be nice. What's crazy is a guy can have a vasectomy at 26, but a woman can't tie her tubes at 26. Yeah, I don't like that. Liberty. I mean, I wouldn't suggest anybody do either of these at 26, but I take your point for sure. But there's the more time that passes, the less likely it's possible. Fair enough. Dude, David says, let's say hypothetically, like Lutch was reacting to a Shapiro debate. Hypothetically, maybe that might happen one day. 12 grand? Yikes. Yeah, I don't blame you. But I appreciate you for being an example of what other young men should not do. Wear a condom at least till 30, then, or at least till you decide you are with someone who you will have to decide, do I want a child with you? Then just tie it up and no, you never got to buy another condom. You don't got to feel the little IUD up in her, you know what I mean? I mean, that's a normal thing, right? That y'all be feeling it up there, the IUDs. Shout out to Joe Mama. Welcome to the party. No, that's not for you. Are you going? Then go. Yeah. Said the Republican Party used to be very religious. Trump might have changed that to some degree. Well, okay, to some degree. But the Republican Party absolutely is very, 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 very religious. Absolutely. Try being an atheist in any conservative space that you don't create. It's not easy. Mr. Slip said, never been a fan of the D ticklers. Okay, I was like, wait, am I? But anyway, what do you mean? Trump is a good Christian boy. Yeah, his favorite book is Corinthians 2. Electric Boogaloo.
That are less likely to commit crime, that are more likely to go to school, that are more likely to be productive members of society, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to disagree with you on any of that. All of that is true. It's just frustrating that sometimes when you bring up any problem, all of it will circle back to other things that makes it seem like we can't make any progress in any area without like fixing something.
In what way? I mean, I literally just told you that on the local level, I'm fine for people voting for air
conditioning. Yeah, but so for instance, on the
and
local level, so for school funding is done, I think, generally per district. So what do you do when you have poor districts that can't afford air conditioner for their schools?
I mean, the idea there would be that presumably if the society, meaning the state, and I generally don't mean the federal state, I mean like the state of California, for example, decides that everybody ought to have air conditioning, people will vote for air conditioning, and that's perfectly legal. And I don't think there's anything morally objectionable about that per se.
Okay, yeah, that's, I was waiting to see if there was going to be something like outside, like, yeah, we vote for that, and then the government gives that. That's how that works. But we have to have that vote there. We have to have people who care enough to put together a bill that says this is what's going to happen. But people are so focused on federal things, or even at the state level, you know, they're not focused on their own county. And I mean, I definitely am guilty of this as well. I have zero ties to my community, and I need to do better at that. But, you know, that's something that I'm going to work on as more of just getting my whole thing, you know, being out and about more, all that stuff. That's going to be part of that. David Banner says Trump didn't make the Republicans less religious. He became their deity, for fuck's sake. All right, I'll give you that. You ain't wrong. Gomsek said, man, conservatives today ain't nothing like the crazy mega church going Christians of the 90s. Just saying. Yes, they are. There's just not as many of them. And the ones that are just not as bad. But yes, they are. When's the last time you're not in the Timcast server? But yeah, but fucking pay the $10 for 1 month. Go into the Timcast server and just tell everybody you're an atheist and see how that goes. I mean, you'll definitely get a lot of attention. But I don't know if it's gonna be the attention that you want. Trump is love, Trump is life. Fair enough. Like I said, we have a societal trend where the majority of young people are having far less sex, aside from the outliers that are having all the sex. I think making abstinence a virtue again would be viable also. I'm trying. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree. I'm trying to think about how. I'm trying to think of, number one, is it, do I agree? I think I do. But number two, the actual reality of making kids think that abstinence is cool. I don't think that's going to happen. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think so. Like I said, I think the left goes, if the left goes any farther, we will get more logical atheists to come to the Republican Party. Hopefully, please. It's just me and you, brother. It's just me and you. Like, we gotta be, shout out to the atheists for liberty. Let's go. The idea would be presumably, classic Shapiro. Oba said, not abstinence in some archaic sex is bad way, but in a way, like focus on finding the right person and having fun rather than sex. I mean, I'm with it. I just, I don't know. That's going to be a hard push. That's going to be a hard push. Emma said our school district went decades not passing a levy because the vast majority were renters and property owners said no. That is another huge thing, is that old people vote so much more in local elections than anybody else. And so when you don't have kids in that school, then of course you'd be like, no, I'm like, my social security is disappearing. I'm not paying for a fucking air conditioner for a 7-year-old. And that makes sense. He grifted the Christisms? Tim, oh yeah. Did you guys see how much shit I got for that clip? Oh man. People were not happy. And why? Because I was calling out their bullshit on religion. I agree. If you never had sex with a girl that you genuinely are into and she's into you, then I don't know if you fucked. Well, I don't know if you've had sex.
And that's perfectly legal. And I don't think there's anything morally objectionable about that per se.
Cool.
I also don't think that that's going to heal anything remotely like the central problem.
Sure,
and I think that what tends to happen in terms of government is people love arguing about the problems that can be solved by opening a wallet, and nobody likes to solve a problem by, closing their sex life to one person, for example.
I thought it was going to go off. The rails and be like, oh, projection a little bit. But no, okay.
Or having kids within a stable religious community, like the things that actually build society. I'm fine with arguing about each of these policies, and sure, whether we apply them or not is a matter generally of pragmatism, not morality. It's a matter of incentive structures, not per se morality, because incentive structures do have moral underpinnings. There's such a thing as, for example, if you're going to use a welfare program, you have to decide how effective it is, to what crowd it applies, where the cutoffs are. Does it disincentivize work? Does it not? All of these are pragmatic concerns. But on a moral level, the generalized objection that I have to people on the left side of the aisle is that they like to focus in these conversations. Very often it feels as though it's a conversation with people who are drunk searching under the lamp for their keys. The problems they want to look at are the problems that are solvable by government. And then all the problems they don't want to look at, which are the actual giant monsters lurking in the dark and not particularly solvable by government, are the ones they want to ignore and assume are just the natural state of things. And
Based. I love that. Of course, when you think that the government is your God and the government is there just to fix all of the bad things, then all you're going to focus on is the things that you can, quote unquote, fix with money from the government. So said, I didn't want to pay $200 more a year for property tax, but I'm more happy that my youngest son will be the first freshman class entering into a brand new high school when it is finished. Gang. Shout out. Almost 9. So they think money will fix everything, and it just won't. Yep. So I feel like enough people with kids voted in our election for that. Yeah, that's the only way. That's the only way it works, right?
I don't think that's correct at all.
And I 1,000,000,000% agree. But then obviously my criticism for the conservative side is the exact opposite, where there are parts where government could remedy some issues. For instance, children having sex with each other and producing other children out of wedlock. Like sometimes having after-school programs is nice to prevent that. Like I didn't have time for these things when I was in school. I was doing football practice. I was doing cross-country practice. I went in early for a band,
These are the places where if I'm going to be paying exactly what Soul is saying, if I'm going to be paying taxes, I would rather not have to pay for taxes, and everything that goes has to have it could be a GoFundMe. The government can have the GoFundMe, and whoever wants to pay for this fucking bullshit, whether it's putting up a statue or taking it down, then you fucking pay for it. And none of us have to get taxed. We keep all our money and we pay for what we want, just like in the free market. But if we are going to have taxes, if there's money that you're going to take from me that I earn, then certainly helping children be able to do the same, to then feed into the system that I will need to extract from as a senior citizen, that definitely is something that I'm in favor of. It's just the idea that again, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. When you're a leftist, everything looks like a government problem. I think I got that close. Mike said, my problem with property tax is that they're taking the most important thing you have and threatening you with a loss of it if you don't pay. Well, yeah, that's why taxation it's theft. It is what it is. It's an acceptable theft. It's a theft that we have said is reasonably acceptable, but it's theft.
I didn't have time for these things when I was in school. I was doing football practice. I was doing cross-country practice. I went in early for a band, I agree with you that sometimes people only focus on one end of the problem. I hate to be that guy, but
no, you don't.
But as somebody have you ever watched The Wire?
Sure.
I'm not going to cite The Wire as real life example, but obviously there's only so much you can do in a school when the children coming in are so beyond destroyed because of the family life and everything prior to them even getting to school that day. So I agree. Government is not the solution to broken families. That would never be the case.
And it's actually,
that's a good point, Guamtech. The parental involvement again is another aspect that's not looking to the government. That's not like the only solution. This is the only solution to schooling kids better. Exactly. Mike said, I'm not for social programs, but if you're going to spend the money in Ukraine and Israel, then please spend it on our social programs. Exactly. And so that's why when there's people like myself who don't want to spend money here, but then you go spend money in Ukraine and Israel, and I say, well, at least if you're going to spend the money, spend it on Americans. I would rather you didn't spend it at all. But it doesn't seem like that's an option.
So I agree. Government is not the solution to broken families. That would never be the case.
And it's actually not the solution to education, depending on the kind of solutions that you're talking about. Some solutions, yes. Some solutions, no.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I'm looking at is, as I said earlier, just these minimum threshold things where it's where can government make? Because you mentioned marginal, which I think is a really good way to look at things. There's marginal cost and marginal utility to things where the first $1,000 per student you spend might give you a huge return, but the extra $20,000 after.
I think these are all pragmatic discussions.
Sure, of course. Okay.
Actually, this is what we used to hash out in legislatures before they turned into platforms for people grandstanding. But yes.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
As we descend from the heavens of philosophical discussion of conservatism and liberalism.
Shout out to Lex Fridman. If you guys are not familiar with Lex, Lex is the man.
Let's go to the pragmatic muck of politics. Trump versus Biden. Between the two of them, who was in their first term the better president? And thus, who should win if the two of them are, in fact, our choices, should win a second term in 2024? Ben?
Sure. So, in terms of actual job performance, you have to separate it into a few categories. In terms of actual performance in foreign policy, I think Trump's foreign policy record is significantly better than Biden's.
What did Lex do to anybody? What the fuck did Lex do to anybody? Can't stand him. I mean, I'm not going to say that I'm his biggest fan. I mean, he just has great interviews, and for whatever reason, YouTube is... he's one of the few people that I agree with a lot that YouTube pushes. Isn't there a joke that eventually, if you click on suggested videos, eventually you'll end up on Lex? Context says, God damn, I love Lex. He can say so much with just a single sentence. Ooh, concise. Being concise is a real skill. A real skill. Damn. All right. Well, why? Why? Let me know. Christian said, I used to love him, but I can't stand people who look at things like Israel and Palestine. And he says, we just need to love each other. Okay, Lex, thanks, Confucius. Fair enough. Fair enough. Trey said, Trump was definitely better, but just like 2020, I think I'm going to sit it out. Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean, I definitely, especially knowing more where your politics are, I think that's reasonable. That's probably what I would do if I was in your shoes. But Trump train, let's go, baby. I wish it was fake, but Trump train, let's go. So Christian said, all right, put your bets. Is he gonna come up, or is he gonna go into his chair? I think he's gonna go into the chair. Oh, I'm wrong again, twice in a row. He's really hungry, guys. He's really hungry, and we don't have a sponsor. If anybody wants to be a sponsor. So Christian said, I used to love him, but I can't. Oh, yeah, we got that one. Yeah. And Opa said, just not my bag. Anyone said, high percentage of parental involvement makes all the difference in a child's education. Where I am, the parents are very involved in their children's education. Our school system is usually 1 or 2 in the state. Yeah, I went to a blue ribbon high school as well. And like, these things matter. It wasn't a thing. Like, I mean, where I live, there was definitely a wide range of socioeconomic status. So there was, there was like rich kids, and there was gang members in the, in the same classes. So we had a very wide range. But you could tell when the people who, who their parents didn't check their homework, and those who did. Like I said, Lex is the intellectual Joe Rogan. I like that. So this also said, I enjoy his interview style, regardless if I agree with him personally on stuff or not. There you go. Mood said, Trump is so bad, he makes me defend Biden online in my free time. I mean, I voted for Hillary, so I feel you.
Actual performance in foreign policy, I think Trump's foreign policy record is significantly better than Biden's. The world being on fire right now being a fairly good example of that. And we can get into each aspect of the world being on fire and where the incentive structures came from and how all of that happened in a moment. When it comes to the economy, I think that Trump's economic record was better than Biden's. Doesn't mean he didn't overspend. He did. He wildly overspent. But he also...
And shout out to the new sponsor of the stream, Soil to Soul, with the $3 Cash App. Thank you. And of course, every donation comes with a treat for my co-host Morty. He says, thank you, yummy. We are on the salmon recipe. Thank you so much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Very, very, very much appreciated.
So had a very solid record of job creation. A huge percentage of the gains in the economy went to people on the lower end of the economic spectrum. Actually, the gross income to the average American was about $6,000 during his term. The unemployment rates were very, very low before COVID. I think that you almost have to separate the Trump administration into sort of before COVID and during COVID, because...
Thank you again, Soil to Soul. Very, 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 very much appreciated. Mr. Slip said, I'm voting for Jenk. Good luck. I think it's like you and Anna, and I don't even know if Anna's voting for him. Gromtek said, all I gotta say is how much you paying for eggs these days, Mood. Christian said, I used to hate Trump. I said, shit, me too. If y'all see my my Facebook posts from like 2015 to like early 2017, before I was really red-pilled, it was cringe. I was so anti-Trump. And I just realized that, like, this is what you're trying to do this. Good on you. You got me. Sorry. So Christian said, I used to hate Trump. Now I think he's one of the best presidents we've had in a very, very, very long time. 100%. M169's calling out the lefties. Said, I disagree. 2017 until the pandemic were great years. He's not perfect, but far better than our other options. Yup. Opa said, oh, that's all right. I appreciate the thought. The pre-pandemic was great. Yeah. The good old days. I mean, if only we could know that we're in the good old days before we left them. Shout out to forget his name. Andy from The Office. Culture Pop with Beehive said, I give my left nut for some mean tweets right now. I said, shit, me too. David said they were definitely the best years since 2008, but it's hard to point to any metric that particularly took off when he took office. How about happiness? How about peace? How about the number of wars started? Christian said, I literally disowned my dad over it for a year because he voted Trump. Then I woke up and realized I was sadly misinformed. Same, bro. Same. I remember that I didn't really have much of a relationship. Well, I don't have much of a relationship with my mom, but, I didn't used to have a relationship with my dad either. And, we went out to dinner one day and, I was starting to pay attention to stuff. Pay attention, meaning watching MSNBC and CNN and Fox News, thinking I knew what the fuck was going on in the world. And we're sitting there, and this is probably back 2015, maybe a little bit earlier. And he said something about climate change being a hoax. And I was like, Dad, what? You can't honestly believe that. What? No way. 97% of climate scientists agree. And we got in a huge, huge fight. And now, Daddy was right again. So the Soul said, you're always welcome. When I win the lottery one day, it will be what you actually deserve. Oh, thank you. Until then, we all living on the edge of poor, especially during Bidenomics. 81 million votes, y'all. Either way, it is very, very, very much appreciated. Whether it's 9 cents, 99 cents, $9, or 20. I very, very much appreciate it. And people said Anna's voting Trump. I wouldn't be surprised. Moon said, yes, how could I forget Biden's egg repricing bill?
Come on, man.
You know that's not what we're saying, though, right? Opa said, what qualities exactly in Cenk are presidential? He wants America to be better? That's about it. I mean, I'll give the man built the company. And the man genuinely does care about the country. He has a very bad perception of what's going on and how to react and how to express that. But yes, where is it? I do think that he genuinely cares about making America better. I just don't think he understands how to do that or why what he thinks is wrong. Said to Mood, I think you know what I mean. At least I hope you do. That's what I'm saying. I hope that was a joke. That seemed like a joke. And if it was a joke, it was a good joke. But Mr. Slips said Cenk would use his compulsive lying as a positive in a job interview. Okay, but it's politics. That's what they all do. Name one politician who's never lied. Exactly.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm gonna start charging you motherfuckers for this shit.
You?
Mike said politics used to be boring until Trump came along. If he's on, I'm listening. And that is why, the same reason that I focus on, these, what some people deem stupid culture war issues. Because this is what normal people who don't already have their minds made up are paying attention to. And so if we can, the biggest voting block ever in any election, we know this, is non-voters. So I wish you could see it. Oh, of course he stops as soon as he knew it. Oh, he's funny. I mean, you have to get people where you have to meet people where they are. You have to meet people where they are. David said, people tend to be happier when you have years of stable, healthy economy. And by every metric, we continued the same trajectory under Trump as we did under Obama. Fair enough. Oba said, you set yourself up perfect and you blew. What the fuck are you talking about? What did I miss? I mean, if I'm missing shit, it's only because I'm paying too much attention to y'all instead of the video. So I could ignore you and just watch the video. Gontek said Cenk would be a great angry buffalo in the White House. We just don't need an angry bull pointed in the wrong direction. Well, that's why I would say I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, let's jump back in.
To the average American rose about $6,000 during his term. The unemployment rates were very, very low before COVID. I think that you almost have to separate the Trump administration into sort of before COVID and during COVID, because COVID obviously is a sort of a black swan event, the most signal change in politics in our lifetime. And so, governance during COVID is almost its own category, which we can discuss. But, in terms of foreign policy, in terms of domestic policy, I think that Trump was significantly better than Biden has been. And that's on the upside for Trump. On the downside for Biden, obviously, you're talking 40-year highs in inflation. You're talking about savings being eaten away. You're talking about everything being 20 to 30% more expensive. You're talking about massive increases to the deficit, even at a rate that was unknown under Trump. The deficit under Trump raised by about a little under $1 trillion every year up until 2020. Again, 2020 was COVID year, so everybody decided that we're going to fire hose money at things. But then Joe Biden continued to fire hose money at things in 21, 22, and 23. That obviously is, in my opinion, bad economic policy. And then you get to the rhetoric and you get to the stuff that Donald Trump says. And as I've said before, my view is that on Donald Trump's epitaph, on his gravestone, it will say Donald Trump. He said a lot of shit. I think that Donald Trump does say a lot of things. I think that is basically baked into the cake, which is why everyone who's bewildered by the polls is ignoring human nature, which is at the beginning, when you see something very shocking, it's very shocking. And then if you see it over and over and over and over for years on end, it is no longer shocking. It is just part of the background noise, like tinnitus. It just becomes, something that your brain adjusts for. And so do I like, of course, a lot of Donald Trump's rhetoric? No, and I never have. Do I think that
I do. Once I learn to understand, or once I learn to listen without trying to twist his words, to be like, how can I make that seem bad? Once I stopped doing that and just listened to what he was saying, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely could see how, you could twist that. Maybe that wasn't the best way to say it. Maybe when you're talking to a group of people who are, reeling from a school pew-pewing, maybe the phrase "get over it" should not be there at all. But if you're going to tell me that the takeaway from what Trump said, I assume you guys know what I'm talking about. Was that in Iowa? Wherever it was. There was a school pew-pewing, and part of I made a video on it. But he said, we have to get her over it. In the course of saying things like, it's so horrible, we're here with you. And of course, Biden himself, you know what Trump said about this? We just got to get over it. That's a lie, sir. That is a lie. So the Soul said to David, during Obama, I had to give up my SUV because the gas prices were too high and I was even poorer than now. Than now. Yeah, I remember the highest prices I saw were under, and Central Jersey has some of the lowest gas prices in the nation. I remember it went to $3.86 is the highest I saw it, and that was when I was in high school, which would be Burmer. So the Soul goes on to say, during the Trump years, I got another SUV, gas easily affordable. Now, the only reason I can keep it is because we are not quite as poor, because we are older and can demand higher pay with our job experience. Yep. Yeah. Trump is, he talks real. It's not virtue. Well, I mean, there's definitely virtue signaling, but it's not all, it's not everything that they try to make it seem. Like, he just is clumsy. And then there's an aspect of, he knows the more hate that he gets for things that he didn't actually say, the stronger his base is going to defend him. So when you're playing that balancing game, it's very easy to see what he's doing. It's very easy. David said, do you offer Biden the same generosity in interpreting his speech? I mean, yeah, when I can understand it. Absolutely. Oba said, spin. Leftists are evil. Christian Packard said, Shane Gillis's bit about Trump during the first debate is one of the best things I've ever seen. I gotta check that out. I haven't seen that one.
And so do I like a lot of Donald Trump's rhetoric?
Yes.
No, and I never have. Do I think that is dispositive as to his presidency? No, I do not. When it comes to Biden, again, I think he's underperforming economically. I think that his foreign policy has been really a problem. Even the things I think he's done right are, I think, band-aids for things that he created by doing wrong. And when it comes to his own rhetoric, you can argue that it's grading on a curve, because Trump was coming in with such wild rhetoric that just a maintenance of that wild rhetoric doesn't really change, again, the baseline. For Biden, he came in in the same way that Obama did, on the sort of soaring rhetoric of American unity. I'm the president for all. Like Trump came in, and he's like, listen, I'm the president for what I am. And, I'm going to say the things I want to say. I'm beyond the toilet and I'm tweeting.
So yeah, Glontek saying to David, I don't give Biden the benefit because everything he says sounds like it was written by an establishment AI. None of it seems genuine to me. But when I'm listening to him speak, even though like whoever wrote the speech, I'm trying to understand what they are trying to tell me. That doesn't mean that just because I'm giving that grace, let's call it, that I can't still interpret what he says to be very I don't want to say offensive because I'm not offended, but he's trying to be offensive to people who don't who like Trump. I'm just saying, like, these are bad people, all that stuff. It's like, yes, I am certainly giving him the benefit of the doubt, but the fact is he does say shit like that. So and Trump doesn't. When you actually listen to what he says, he doesn't. Moon says, I don't get it. You bought an SUV. You understand presidents don't set gas prices. Often tax cuts for wealthy come from Republicans, which increases the debt. Trump ran the budget up. We bear the repercussions. What y'all talk to y'all selves?
Trump came in, he's like, listen, I'm the president for what I am. And, I'm going to say the things I want to say. I'm beyond the toilet and I'm tweeting. We're like, okay, so that's what it is. With Biden, he came in with, I'm a president for all Americans. I'm trying to unify everybody. And that pretty quickly broke down into a lot of oppositional language about his political opponents, in particular, an attempt to lump in, for example, huge swaths of the conservative movement with the people who participated, for example, in January 6th or who are fans of January 6th. The sort of lumping in of everybody into MAGA Republicans who wasn't personally signed on to an infrastructure bill with him. That sort of stuff, I think, has been truly terrible. I thought his Philadelphia speech was truly terrible. And again, I think that you do have the problem of he is no longer capable of, certainly rhetorically, unifying the country when every speech from him feels like watching Nick Wallenda walk across a volcano on a tightrope.
And so, and not only that, but and Glontek, I definitely understand you. I definitely 100% understand where you're coming from. But the problem with all the division that Trump did cause came from people not trying to actually listen to what is this person trying to say. Once you understand what is this person trying to say, then you can take a step back and say, okay, do I like how they what it actually means? Do I like how they said it? All of those things. But if you're not even going to try to understand what the AI speechwriter is saying, if you're not even going to try, then how are you any better than the people who just say, oh, Trump's racist? You got to listen. That doesn't mean that just because you listen and you hear that he's like, oh, you vote for Trump and he hates you. He thinks you are less of a person. He thinks that you are not a part of our democracy. It's their democracy and it's our constitutional republic. Open said the media makes Trump divisive. Biden actually is divisive. I would say they are both divisive. I would agree that Biden is more divisive, but Trump is definitely divisive. There's no way around that. He wouldn't be as popular as he is if he wasn't divisive.
The country, when every speech from him feels like watching Nick Wallenda walk across a volcano on a tightrope. I mean, it really is like you're just sort of waiting for him to fall. I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, the other day he was speaking for what was, in effect, his campaign kickoff.
Yep. Well, I said Biden catchphrase is literally, this isn't hyperbole. And I'm telling the truth. My opinion, though thou doth protest too much. And that's exactly what I said about DeSantis. I will not let you down. And then somebody else had something similar. Or like, I won't do this. It's like, all right, I assumed you weren't, but now that you said it.
And this is in Valley Forge. And I mean, Jill rushed up there, like off the, as soon as he was done, Jill rushed up there, like she'd been shot out of.
Okay. And what's the hard to think of any ally Trump has ever made that he hasn't completely shat all over in some Twitter rage. Okay. But are we talking about the politicians or are we talking about the voters? Because then, yeah, I totally agree. The entire establishment is united behind Biden. That's not a question. But I'm talking about the voters. And I correct me if I'm wrong, Opus and Guamtech, but I think that's what they're talking about too. So yeah, if we're talking about do the politicians like what the saying, then obviously people are divided over Trump and more over Trump and united behind Biden. But I don't think that's really what we're talking about. Opus said Trump is inflammatory. Yes, this makes him divisive, but it's an important distinction. Okay. I don't really, yeah, I don't disagree with that. But that is divisive. Soon enough. Oba said, yeah, he ripped Kelly McEnany just today, and I call him out for that shit. Yeah, facts. But here's the other thing, though. Like, I don't know number one, I don't know who Kaylee McEnany is when she's not behind the podium. I don't know what relationship they had. I don't know what she's doing on a day-to-day basis. So if Trump has a problem with her, then maybe Trump just has a problem with her. David said, talking about the cause of division, which I'm suggesting is the guy who has something negative to say about every person who doesn't kiss his booty. But again, division of what? Division of the politicians or division of the voters? Because that's two different things.
Or like off the as soon as he was done, Jill rushed up there, like she'd been shot out of a cannon to come and try and guide him away so he didn't become the Shane Gillis Roomba. And that's not real.
Was that a reference to this?
I miss it. I miss the speeches with Trump. You remember that? We used to get 5 speeches a day when he was in office. Anytime you turn on the TV, that guy was giving another fucking speech.
Shout out to Mr. Slip.
Be in front of a helicopter, calling a lady a lesbian or something.
Being in front of a church, getting firebombed, forced into the bunker, and getting called bunker boy. Oh, but that's not an insurrection.
This is gonna be a tough one to defend at work.
No, I did not look it up. Shout out to Mr. Slip. Mr. Slip looked it out and dropped it in the Discord. Thank you very much, sir.
But I'm gonna. Now it's sad. Now with Biden, we get like one.
I'm going to disagree with that. I am going to vastly disagree with that. Do you honestly think that the percentage of people who cast a vote for Biden are as happy with their vote as the percentage of people who cast a vote for Trump? Let's just say it's 100. 100 people voting for Biden and 100 people voting for Trump. How many of those people are happy with their vote on either side? Come on, bro. Come on, bro.
Now it's sad. Now with Biden, we get like one speech every 3 months. And it's hard. He's like falls and shit. It's hard to watch. It's sad. I'm rooting for the guy. Obviously, I want
drop it in the Discord.
Things to go well, but it's hard to watch him do anything. Anytime I watch Biden do anything, I get the same feeling as like, you ever go to a friend's house and they have like a 16-year-old dog and it walks in the room?
Hey, wait.
You gotta do that whole like, oh, hey, there he is.
Well, he's pretty spry for 14, isn't he?
Just look at him. He's looking great. My favorite thing about Biden is anytime Biden finishes a speech, he transforms into a Roomba. Time Trump was
Can you hear the other video while I'm
pulling it like less than 1%.
Can you hear that while I'm I just played another video. Can you hear that while I'm because I'm trying to see if this is worth it.
I miss it. I miss the Trump speeches.
Oh, that's it? Okay, bet. So then we'll slide up to this guy.
Trump gave what I think was probably
Wait. I think just as many people who voted for Biden over Trump in 2020 would absolutely vote the same way in 2024. I'll give you there isn't near the same cultish fervor over Biden compared to Trump. My boy Rand and Ron. Shout out to the both of them. All right, nice little detour we had there. I appreciate that. Good looks on the finding the links, guys. So let's dive back into this a little bit, guys. We are at 2:15, and if you want to keep the party raging,
as soon as he was done, Jill rushed
it.
up there. Like she'd been shot out of a cannon to come and try and guide him away so he didn't become the Shane Gillis Roomba. And that's not really, let's put it this way. It does not quiet the soul to watch Joe Biden rhetorically. Again, that's a different problem than Trump's problem, but that's my analysis.
This is one of the areas where when we get into this, I don't understand if there's like brain breaking happening or what's going on. I don't know what world we can ever live in where we say that Trump is less divisive for the country than Biden. I think it is so patently obvious. Trump is so divisive. Like, not only does Trump make an enemy out of every person in the opposition party, he makes an enemy out of his own party and every single person around him. Like, we all watched him bully, Jeff Sessions. We all watched him bully his own party on Twitter. We all watched like,
Yeah, because we hate the Republican Party, bro. We hate the Republican Party. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. Shout out to Christian Packard with the $5 super chat. Morty, come get a treat. Come on. Where you at? Come on. Good boy. There we go. There we go. Thank you. So very much. And of course, that makes you the new sponsor of the stream. Thank you, sir. Very, very, very much appreciated.
all watched him bully, Jeff Sessions. We all watched him bully his own party on Twitter. We all watched like all of these people walk away from him. Even recently, I think the Secretary of Defense Esper and John Kelly, the Chief of Staff, were saying, I think Trump is a threat to democracy. You've got all of his prior people that were around.
Good thing we don't live in a democracy.
Some of his closest allies. You've got Bill Barr that won't co-sign a single thing that he says. You've got all these people that he used to work with that all say Trump is a horrible, evil person. He is ineffective as a leader. He doesn't accomplish anything, and he didn't.
And your conclusion is that the same people that have been lying to the entire populace for decades just all of a sudden are telling the truth. And the one guy who has nothing to gain and everything to lose is just like, yeah, I'm going to go do whatever it is that you think that he's done. Good point. That's kind of, it is what it is. Well, you coming back up? 3 for 3. All right. Welcome back. Obis said the motivation to vote against Trump becomes a lot less when people feel poorer today by no small margin than they were 4 years ago. And all the empty platitudes about the strong economy don't mean shite. Fair, yeah, very much agreed. Momsek said, but is Trump really divisive, or is it that the media says he's divisive? No, I think he is divisive. As somebody who's been on both sides of loving him and hating him, he's definitely he's definitely divisive. But it's just a matter of how are you primed to look at what he's saying. Hey, shout out to Nelly C in the building. Welcome to the party. Well, he definitely didn't know that going in. He does now because he did such a great job. But when he was going in, he had no idea what it was really going to be. He's never been in politics before. He was all like, oh, I'm just going to run it like a company, which again is something I was like, you can't run the country like a company. That's so different. Blah, 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 blah. Turns out it's actually a pretty good way to go about it. M169, but welcome to the party, Nelly. Good to see ya. M169 said Destiny doesn't get that many in the country need someone to say what no one else has the balls to. Unfortunately, that's true. I hate that so many people are not willing to stand up for what they actually believe in. That is a big reason why this idea that being a liberal in the loosest terms is the default, because it just seems like that's the nice people. They're the ones who want to fight racism and sexism and transphobia and all that stuff. It's not until you actually look into, okay, well, what exactly are you doing here? And how are you trying to get this done? That you realize, oh, nobody gives a fuck about you. There's no Republican who's sitting there who's saying, oh, I hope that 169 has a great night. There's no one saying, oh, Nelly C, I hope you have an amazing year. There is no one in politics who's doing that. Yeah, I mean, it's either I think it implies that people are divided on him. So, I mean, I guess that's just semantics, but
all say Trump is a horrible, evil person. He is ineffective as a leader. He doesn't accomplish anything. And he didn't. To say that Biden has failed at bipartisanship when, we've gotten the CHIPS Act, we've gotten the IRA, we've gotten the ARP, we've gotten the bipartisan infrastructure bill, when we've gotten like all this major legislation that is working in this historically divided Congress, as opposed to Trump that got us tax cuts and deficit spending. I don't understand where we ever are in this world where Biden is somehow more divisive than Trump. Even the speeches that Ben is bringing up, they always bring up. I remember that one. I think we might have even done it on our episode. The one speech that Biden gave, where at one point the background is red, and
the Philly speech I referenced.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's over. This is the end." And then meanwhile, you got Donald Trump, coming into office saying things like, "If you burn the flag, you should have your citizenship revoked."
See, that's a perfect example. That's a perfect example. I'll come back to this, David. That is a perfect example of something that I don't even remember when in relation to my never Trump journey that was. But even I at the time, okay, let's get a date on that, because I definitely understood what he meant. Trump says you should go to jail for burning the flag. So 2016. Yeah, okay. So this is so we're talking about, yeah. So like the tweet that we're looking at here says nobody should be allowed to burn the American flag. If they do, there must be consequences, perhaps loss of citizenship or a year in jail. Now, obviously, that's not a real suggestion. He's someone who speaks in hyperbole and is sending the message that this is a thing we really don't like. Now, I totally get that, hey, you're the president. You need to be a little bit more concise with your words, because it's not anybody's fault for taking this seriously. But that's not what he meant. I know to you it does. I understand that because I was that way. But it's just not. That's not like you. This is an incorrect assumption or interpretation. That's just not. I mean, it's just not what he meant. Like, think about it. If that was the plan, then why the fuck wouldn't he just try to get somebody, one of the MAGA congressmen, to write the bill, do an executive order, or something else? It's about the culture to say, hey, we are making America great again. Culture Pop said Destiny is such a drone. And Mr. Slip says he has TDS for sure. Otherwise, I love the guy. No, yeah, you're right. I try to give Destiny props whenever I can, because I really do appreciate not only what he does, like how he does his streams. I appreciate the way that he thinks about these things. And even if I don't agree with the solutions, then it's something that I want to, in the same way we were talking about Biden before, I want to understand what is it that you actually mean.
Donald Trump, coming into office saying things like, if you burn the flag, you should have your citizenship revoked, or talking about MSDNC, that I'm going to investigate every single one of these media organizations for corruptness. I'm going to open the libel and defamation laws. I'm going to take all of these guys to court. You've got this weird Project 2025 stuff where is it John Paschal, I think, is talking about, we're gonna investigate all of these people and we're gonna try to throw crimes at all these people. Trump is like the most divisive president I think we've ever had in at least in my lifetime of being an American citizen. And the rhetoric from him is just, it's on a whole other level in terms of the
right. He didn't do it.
Demonization of political opponents. I mean, this is a guy that's known for giving his political opponents bad nicknames, right? Like that's what Trump does. It's funny, but even as a resident of Florida, if Florida had another natural disaster, do you think Trump would withhold aid? Because you had, I think that was one of the few nice things that DeSantis actually said about Biden, was that like, hey, listen, when the buildings collapsed in, I think that was in Miami Beach, that, for the hurricane stuff, that Biden was there. He was saying, if you guys need aid, however many billions, you can have it. Meanwhile, Trump, I think, was threatening to withhold federal funding from blue states that wouldn't I think it had to do with the National Guard stuff, the deployment of the National Guard, that they weren't like doing enough for the riots, and Trump was threatening to withhold aid from some of these blue states. Trump is literally the most divisive person in the world. I don't see how on any metric he is ever succeeding in the divisive category. In terms of the economy, I do think it's funny that Republicans are very keen to say that, like, well, we can't really grade Trump, post-COVID, because obviously COVID messed everything up, which is fair. But pre-COVID, what did Trump do? Yeah, he did deficit spending, tax cuts. He presided over historic low interest rates and an economy that was already like blazing past the final years of Obama. We were posting all-time highs on all the stock markets in 2013 onward.
We got another comment of the night. Indie Film says, oh my God, Trump gives us his political opponents bad nicknames. Tell me again, what does Biden do to his political opponents? Dilly dilly. It's almost like he wants to put them in jail or something. Like, crazy, right? Animal Instinct, welcome to the party. Said, I hope Trump wins 2024 and we see Destiny and David Pakman melt down and cry. I think we will see the former, probably not the latter, but a boy can dream, right? A boy can dream. I don't want to win for that reason, but it would be a plus for sure. Yep. It's just but I feel like Dems assume Trump asked Pence not to count in order to overturn the election. But maybe it was just to wait so we can verify and be fair. I mean, I'm not going to go down that whole road. That's a whole discussion. But yeah, again, it comes to how are you interpreting his state of mind when he says X, Y, and Z. And the perfect example for this is find me the votes. I know you guys have heard, some of you have heard me say it before, but if I ask you to find me the car keys, do you think that's me asking you to fabricate fabricate keys that will work with my car? Or do you think maybe I'm asking you to find that which already exists? Even people as smart and whatever as Destiny, well, he said find the votes, as if that's a gotcha. No. You have to do a lot more work to just cherry pick one little thing, exactly like they're doing with, oh, just get over it. I said, shit, me too. Culture Pop said the scary thing is that Destiny isn't the only one who believes the shit that's coming out of his mouth. Facts, bro. You found your home, bro. I say this shit all the goddamn time. Whether it's Destiny or any other leftist or whatever. Sometimes we will go, why are we listening to this fucking... I was going to say the F word. You're not allowed to do that here. Why are we listening to this fucking fruitcake about this, that, and the other? Because other people are listening and taking it seriously. That's why. Exactly.
Unemployment rates were falling. Now under Biden, unemployment rates are even lower than they were under Trump. But it sucks that for Trump, we can say, well, we can't really hold him accountable for 2020. That was COVID. Well, all we have for Biden is post-COVID. We don't have any. That's
a good point. I'll come back to this. That's a good point that he's saying we don't have any pre-COVID for Biden. That's a fair point. So David's saying, quote, a massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. Agreed.
Pre-COVID Biden, economy. And it was the same thing for Obama, too.
Does anybody disagree with the sentiment of what David is saying here? Didn't think so.
Coming in right after the housing collapse as well. And it sucks that Republicans are able to walk out of office, having burned the entire American.
Yes. Agreed.
Society to the ground economically. And now we've got to try to evaluate, okay, well, what did Obama do during his first 2 to 3 to 4 years, just trying to recover from where the housing crash left it? And then we look at Biden now, who's trying to recover from COVID. And now we're grading him on a totally different scale than what Trump is being graded on. Yeah, that sucks, I think.
I agree with that. I mean, we have to take the situation as it is, but we do kind of give Trump a pass on before and after COVID, when when we didn't. Wait a minute. Hold on. What? So if you think you didn't lose an election, that's justification to suspend the Constitution. If we're having a false and fraudulent election, that is the end of our democracy. That is the end of what we call a constitutional republic. I thought it was y'all's whole thing that, oh my God, the transfer of power has to be this, that, or the other. If it's not, and again, I don't think that he won the election. I think that he's I think that he's an egotistical person who couldn't deal with reality. That doesn't mean that I think Biden is a better president. But if it wasn't false, according to effectively everyone outside of Trump himself, except for all the people who agree that it's false, right? So it's just Trump. Trump is the only person in January of 20 person was the only Trump was the only person since January 2020 that thinks it wasn't false. That's your claim? Didn't think so. What did I miss here? Anyboom said Biden declared COVID over like a year ago. So why don't we judge him on what he's done since? I like that. Opus said Time Magazine had a whole issue dedicated to how Democrats fortified the election. They are pissing on us and calling it rain, as always. And you know what's another way to say this? Semantic obfuscation. So the soul said unemployment is low because many people have to have more than one job. I don't have a metric for that. Wonder if one exists. Just my thoughts. Yeah. What about the people who are either unable to work, choose not to work, or working multiple jobs? That really messes with the. Okay, fair enough. Fair. Got that one. Culture Pops says, unfortunately, the last few years have seen Biden water the tree of liberty with piss. The incontinent kind. Anyone said nobody was asking to suspend the Constitution. I think the fact that they were asking for the Constitution to be adhered to. Bingo. Yep, but that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not going to go down that road. Like, that's specifically what it says. We do this if this, and then we do. He thinks if this, so we do this. But it's wrong. Okay, I'm just all right. If that's how you see it, there's nothing that I could say with the time that we have left that's going to change your mind. Soul the Soul saying, yes, there is no more pre-COVID times anymore. Doesn't exist. Does this mean we have we have to have a new standard for everything? Serious question. I don't know. I never experienced a pandemic before 2020. That is a good point. I would say yes, but in the specific context of comparing Trump and Biden, if we're going to give that to Trump, then we have to at least acknowledge that there is no pre-COVID time for Trump, or excuse me, for Biden. There is no, so we can't compare. That's not comparing apples to apples. I think that's fair. Unemployed as well as a claim. Yeah, that's a whole other thing too, right? Opus said, I think, and this is Opus saying, I think the 2020 was stolen. It was just done. I think 2020 was just done legally. Okay, gotcha. Yep, I agree. David says, so Trump's legal team, who lost every court challenge, how many people does it take to believe it's fraudulent for you to suspend the Constitution? I don't know. It's a good question, but you know, as somebody who is planning to vote for Trump, the biggest issue that I have with him is the people that he surrounds himself with. So, yeah, maybe. I mean, like, I know it. I get it. I get what you think that I'm thinking, and I'm just saying that that's not as crazy and out there as you think, because a lot of us believe this. I'm sure you only hear people talking about it when they think that it was completely fair and nothing went wrong and all that, and responding to that. But no, half of the country believes what we believe, and half of the country believes what you believe. So somebody's fucking crazy, because we can't all be right. Yeah, I got you. So David says unemployment takes into account people with multiple jobs. Both jobs report to the same government. Fair. Oba said, heck, in Pennsylvania, they illegally changed election protocol and got away with it in court. No, I mean, I'm not going, yeah. And once again, said Biden had the momentum of the BLM riots and COVID on his side during the 2020 elections. That's not the case now, and using abortion to campaign, I don't think will be as effective. Yep, I predict you are correct, sir. Culture Pop said Constitution looks pretty suspended to me in Texas. Oh shit.
And now we're grading him on a totally different scale than what Trump is being graded on. Yeah, that sucks. I think
we can comment on the foreign policy.
On the foreign policy, I'm gonna be honest. Jesus. I am very liberal. I'm very not progressive. I'll probably come off as more hawkish than others because I'm not a big fan of this. Which also, if Ben agrees, like I think people like Trump are going to be the most dovish isolationist people.
So if we play a game that says you have to you have one of these and you have to throw it, that's the game. Unless you drop it and then you don't have to throw it. How is that any different than the situation we're talking about? There we go with the evidence. So you mean that ballots that were filled out and the address is a bridge? That's not evidence? Okay. The numbers going overnight when the counting was stopped, going from Trump switching to Biden while there's no counting going on. That's not evidence. Okay. It's so convenient because y'all have the establishment on your side. And so it's like, well, this person in the establishment said the establishment didn't do the establishment stuff. Where's the evidence? Nobody said it in court under oath. Therefore, you must be wrong. That's not how the world works, baby. That's not how it works. You're not going to find somebody say, yes, I did this wrong. That's not a realistic standard. Oba said, no, it's not. So Mood said it was false. Oba said, no, it's not. The secretary, I honestly, I don't want to go. I'll leave these up, but I want to listen to more of this.
People like Trump are going to be the most dovish isolationist people ever. They don't want to do anything internationally. They just want to, protect America, be at home, protect our economy, don't do anything.
How dare you?
What a terrible platform to run on. What a terrible platform. Do you want this guy?
I'm not a big fan of this, which also, if dovish, I agrees. Like, I think people like...
Okay, wait.
People like Trump are going to...
Okay, so this is Destiny saying this is bad. This is the things that Destiny doesn't want.
Be the most dovish isolationist people.
So he doesn't want to be an isolationist.
Ever. They don't want to do anything internationally. They just want to...
And that's bad. We want to play America World Police.
Protect America, be at home, protect our economy.
We want to protect our men at home. We want to protect our economy. How horrible.
How dare you?
I cannot believe that people actually support somebody who says protect our home. What the fuck are you saying?
Don't do anything internationally, which is why he was constantly undermining NATO and constantly, attacking all of the European Union and, cheering on the UK for Brexiting away from the EU. I think that being said, I think that Biden has done a phenomenal job when it comes to foreign policy.
Come on, bro. You know what I mean?
I think that the coalition building was so important for Ukraine, Russia, and I'm so happy that he decided to go to our European allies and our NATO allies and try to build a coalition of people to help Ukraine so that wasn't only the United States. Personally, especially after doing a whole bunch of research, I do tend to side with Israel over Palestine in a lot of the Israeli-Palestinian conflicts. I'm glad that Biden, while remaining a staunch defender of Israel, is trying to rein in.
Is that what I said? Is that so you're claiming that the only things that we can say are true is that which has been proven in court? That's your position. That unless in court somebody says it under oath, then it cannot be true. I don't know. This is the wall. I don't know how to get past this. It's like, do you like? Yeah, no, the government's just complete. There's no corruption there. Somebody in the government said it, so it must be. It's obviously true. They said it in court under oath. People don't lie in court under oath, especially politicians. Like, what are we talking about? Again? Come on up here. I know. They are being pretty nice. Would you like another one? Maybe if you look cute, then they'll give you another one before we leave. Context said I shouldn't put it past destiny to turn nothing.
What?
Culture Pop said that is why I said he doesn't really give a shit about America. He doesn't know what America is. All right, fair enough. But I mean, somebody can care about their crooked idea of what America is, and that's fair. I think that's fair. I said shit. Me too. Thank you, sir. I'm way behind. All right, we're not going to be able to catch up with all this stuff.
I'm glad that Biden, while remaining a staunch defender of Israel, is trying to rein in some of the more aggressive posturing towards the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. I'm proud that Biden said, hey, listen, we're going to delay some of these attacks. Hey, listen, we are going to allow humanitarian aid here. Hey, listen, we are going to try to, not kill as many Palestinian people down there, while still, signaling that he would be a staunch supporter of Israel in the conflict, assuming the civilian casualties don't go too high. For foreign policy, blemishes. The biggest one you can give to Biden is Afghanistan and the pullout there. But man, are we going to talk about, the Inspector General report that says that one of the biggest reasons why the Afghanistan pullout was so disastrous was because of the Doha Accords?
Hey, shout out to Liberty Plus TV. Welcome to the party. I got to get your shit too. Give me 1 second. I'll drop the link to your channel. Another awesome YouTuber.
Where Donald Trump headed talks that didn't even include the Afghanistan army. These were disasters. Like when Biden took office, we had 2,500 troops left in Afghanistan. Like, what was the options even afforded to Biden at that point? Obviously, you've got the abandonment of the Kurds in northern Syria, for the Turkish armies to lay waste to. I can talk about
Liberty. What's your channel URL?
Iran and North Korea, although I'm not sure where Ben would land on those, but yeah, that's broadly. Yeah,
that's a lot from both. You want to pick at something where you disagree with here?
Well, there's a lot. So I want to ask a few questions on each one of these.
Yeah, sure.
So let's talk about divisiveness for a second. So there's no one who can make the case that Donald Trump is not divisive.
Yeah.
Of course, he's incredibly divisive. It's a given. Do you treat Biden's rhetoric with the same level of seriousness that you treat Trump's rhetoric? Or I should probably put that the other way around. Should we treat Trump's rhetoric with the same level of seriousness as Joe Biden or, say, Barack Obama's rhetoric?
I'm going to try to be concise when I say these.
That's interesting. The same question that came up with us.
Broadly speaking, especially in studying Israel, Palestine, and Ukraine, Russia, I try not to take politicians at their word because sometimes they just say stuff to say stuff. I understand that. But broadly speaking, I'm going to look at the rhetoric and the actions, and I am going to grade them the same. So yes, I would hold Biden and Trump to the same standard.
Right. So my feeling is, and this is one area where, for clarification, we're going to have a division, is that I, of course, don't treat Trump's rhetoric in the same way that I treat Biden's or Obama's. He's utterly uncalibrated, and he says whatever he wants to at any given time, and it doesn't even match up with his policy very often.
Hey! Where's the proof? Where's the proof? Where's the charge? Game over.
Can I ask you, for our head of state, our chief executive, shouldn't rhetoric be arguably one of the most important things that he does?
The answer would be yes. And now I've been given a choice between a person who I think in calibrated ways says that.
Shout out to Culture Pop with a B Hop. Let me drop that channel one more time. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. I hope you will subscribe and come back. I'm live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. It was a pleasure to have you. Hope you come back, buddy.
Things that are divisive, and a person who in uncalibrated ways says things that are divisive. And so the evidence that Joe Biden is divisive is every poll taken.
What is D Tiny? What am I missing? What? I want to be in on the joke. Oh, D is tiny.
Loser.
Since essentially August of 2021. He is, by all available metrics, incredibly divisive. A huge percentage of Americans are deeply unhappy, not only with his performance, but don't believe he's a uniter.
So then you agree that there was no insurrection. If that's what you're saying, then you agree that there is no insurrection because it was not proven in court. That's your standard. I'm not saying that's the only way. I obviously understand that there is evidence to the reality of something if we have court documents, testimony, all that stuff. But to act as if somebody in government said a thing, therefore it must be true, is silly. It is silly. Whether it's on the left or the right, it is silly. And the left used to know this. It used to be the party of, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. It used to be punk rock. And now it's let me suck on the establishment's dick and slurp down their fucking jizz.
That's just the reality. And that may just be a reflection. I mean, honestly, we may be putting too much on Trump or Biden personally. It may just be that the American people themselves are rhetorically divided because of social media, and social media can, in fact, be a cesspool. And all
one
that.
thing that I would ask you about that, though,
Sure.
is I agree, especially when you look at the favorability. But sometimes when I look at these polls, when you start to disaggregate them by party, I wonder if it's actually, is Biden historically divisive, or I'm trying to think of a really polite way to say this.
So Moon said, conspiracy to defraud the U.S., conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, obstruction and attempt to instruct for what are you talking about, Congressman Bowman? What are we doing here?
The people that like Trump worship Trump. I don't know. I like one of the most prescient things that Trump could have. No, there are people. There absolutely are people who are just fucking wild. But to act like it's the again, if we're to take a percentage on the left of people who are fervently for the ideas of leftist ideology, and the who vote for Biden, and the people who think of Trump as some anything beyond a great president, the dogma on the right goes to God. Let me say that again. The dogma on the right goes to God. I'm working on that. But the dogma on the right goes to God. The dogma on the left goes to the establishment. I don't know how we got from F the system and fuck Big Pharma, Rage Against the Machine, became Rage for the Machine. How did it happen? Okay, and I notice insurrection is not there. I notice sedition is not there. So now we're just saying, okay, a president who's done crimes. Find me any politician who hasn't, and we're right back to zero. I would say I don't like Trump because the left is fucking insane. In a non-clown world, I would say, nah, bro. Trump is a loot and has no business being president. Abso-fucking-lutely. But we don't live in that world, unfortunately. Unfortunately, somebody like Vivek can't get through. So we do what we gotta do. Probably ever said was that I could kill someone on 5th Street and nobody would hold me accountable. So is it really that Biden is historically divisive, or is it that every single Trump supporter will always say that Trump is great? And
No,
he is, Destiny is one of these people. Well, I don't like to say always and everybody, but what did he just say?
Is it really that Biden is historically divisive, or is it that every single Trump supporter will always say that Trump is great? And always say that Biden is bad?
The reason I would say that Biden is, in fact, historically divisive is because Republicans felt much more strongly about Barack Obama than Joe Biden.
Insurrection? Sedition? These are legal terms. What do you think an insurrection is? All right, let's back that up a little
supporter with Street always say that Trump is.
Oh, that's the other one too. Oh yeah. Well, he said he would kill somebody and people still voted for him. So obviously it must be that if he actually killed somebody, that all the same people would still vote for him. How stupid can you be? How arrogant can you be to think that not half, but 30% of the country actually thinks that way? How arrogant can you be to think? It blows my mind. It blows my mind.
Accountable. So is it really that Biden is historically divisive, or is it that every single Trump supporter will always say that Trump is great? And
no,
the
reason I would say that Biden is, in fact, historically divisive is because Republicans felt much more strongly about Barack Obama than Joe Biden, actually.
But they didn't feel as strongly about Trump as they did about like Romney or McCain, right?
In what way? I mean,
in any way, because they're not the same. There's not. What is your point? Yes, people are more attracted to a personality like Donald Trump than John McCain. What does that even do for anybody?
and that the allegiance to Trump.
Oh, no, there's certainly more allegiance to Trump than there is to Romney or McCain, largely because Trump won in 2016.
And also, he's not boring. And also, he hates Republicans. And also, he's not a Republican. And also, he at least said that he's fighting for us.
Beyond that, the point that I'm making is that if you're looking at the stats in terms of divisiveness, Republicans always find the Democratic president divisive. The question is where the rest of the country is. And right now, there are a lot of Democrats who either don't agree with Biden or, find him divisive. There are a lot of independents who find him divisive. So when we're comparing these things, I don't think they're leagues apart in terms of the divisive effects of what they say. Right. And I'm separating that off from like the inherent content of what they say, because obviously what Trump says is more divisive just on like the raw level. I mean, if he's insulting people as opposed to Joe Biden doing MAGA Republicans, like.
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm if you're going to say Trump is not divisive, then what do words mean?
If I were an alien come down from space and look at these two statements, I'd say this one's more divisive than this one. But then there's the reality of being a human being in the world. And that is everyone has baked Donald Trump into the cake. And Joe Biden, again, started off with a patina of being non-divisive and now has emerged as divisive. If you don't mind, I actually want to get to the foreign policy questions because this one is actually slightly less interesting to me.
Sure.
Well,
I agree. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do a poll. So should we do part 2 on what day is it? It's Thursday. So should we do part 2 on Friday? So this just means that we'll pick right back up here. Or if you kind of got it, if you've seen it already, if you've had enough, then I'll find something else. But please let me know. And if you cannot see the poll, please say something. I want to do what you guys want to do, Animal instincts and Destiny always look like he rolled right out of bed. Not sure if this is a hipster aesthetic, but he could comb his hair at least. No, yeah, that he goes to like he's been when he was on the Jubilee things. He always goes in like sweatpants and whatever. And I mean, I go out of the house wearing these, but I'm not going on. Well, I was going to say I'm not going on TV, but I mean, this is my uniform for the show. But yeah, I do think that how you carry yourself and how you take care of yourself does matter, but I care less about that. LC9 said they still don't get that Trump isn't a Republican. He's a center Democrat who was smart enough to know the Dems move left that way. That way won't get me the presidency. Yeah. But why? Like for how long? And I mean, I still say it, but I call myself a 2015 liberal. In 2015, everything that was liberal, that was Democratic, in terms of the party, I liked everything that was coming from the right, the Republicans, Bill O'Reilly, fucking all of this shit. I was like, what is this fucking garbage? Mitch McConnell, all of that shit. And I don't think on the left people understand that we as voters see the Republican Party as perhaps more of an enemy than the Democratic Party. The only way to solve that is to get somebody who's not a Republican in a Republican office. And I mean, I don't think we could argue, I mean, we could, but you'd be wrong, that things hadn't changed, that there's not a pre-Trump world and a post-Trump world. There absolutely is a pre-Trump world and a post-Trump world, just like there's a pre-COVID world and a post-COVID world. And never the twain shall meet. Is that how you say it, right? They don't get it. I mean, they will brush off that, oh, well, you just don't understand this, or you say that, but I don't believe you, or people, you can only go as far as people are willing to go. And if they're going to do whatever mental gymnastics to think that you're wrong, no matter what, then what are we doing? And that's not aimed at David or Mood. That's very much the opposite. They're actually here listening to us. They're actually giving their thoughts. And even though we disagree, it's a respectful conversation. We respect that. I mean, hey, at least we agree. Shout out to Gobunist. Welcome to the party. I don't mock Jesus. I just think I look like him. We also got Goons Guy Inc. Welcome to the party. I don't know if they're still there. You guys still here? Yeah, mainly. So my ideology, like I was just talking about, I call myself a 2015 liberal. I was a never Trumper, and now I've been won over. I would have loved Vivek over anyone else, but Trump train it is. Yep. All right, did I miss other stuff here? Wait. So the Soul said to Opus, okay, do we not think Nancy Pelosi would have had Congress charge him with insurrection if she thought it would stand? Any film said, I feel like Trump is just a feeling. It's more insulting. I feel like Trump is just a feeling is more insulting to specific individuals, where Biden says the MAGA and the ultra MAGA, they're all terrorists. I kind of get what you mean, but maybe try that one again. Christian said, obviously Republicans don't like the Democrats, but what are the Democrats saying about their own party or vice versa? Yeah, there's not no, but there's a lot less shade thrown at Democratic politicians from Democrats that I see. Maybe I just don't have a lot of that in my epistemological bubble, as Destiny would say. But yeah, it's bad. But yeah, exactly. Like it's just curious that everybody's so convinced and yet nothing. Maybe they're waiting. Maybe they're waiting for an October surprise. David said the whole idea of leaving charges to a partisan jury of elected officials honestly sounds like the least objective way of determining guilt, at least as polarized as we currently are. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I mean, but like, what? I mean, that's the justice system, right? That's the justice system. Better or worse. Mr. Slip said, if you do blindly trust the government, watch Carrie Lake attempted bribery. Carrie Lake, K-A-R-I. And yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, that was a good one. He failed the insurrection, but at least we agree. All right. David said, it honestly makes no sense to say the leader of the Republican Party for the last 10 years isn't a Republican. Okay. Like, if you see, that's what I mean. Are you trying to understand what I'm saying? I've spoken these words to you before about the difference between conservative voters and Republican politicians and liberal voters and Democratic politicians. But you're purposely obfuscating what we're saying because of the specific words. And you know that's not what we mean. You know that's not what we mean. Well, I don't understand what are you trying to accomplish here? You know that's not it, bro. What are you saying? No, it wasn't because Vivek is Indian. It's because I thought Vivek had the best ideas and was the most well-spoken, and he didn't have the baggage that Trump has. I think we could have gotten all the America First goodness without any of the baggage of MAGA. I would have loved that. Glumsex said, stop the pendulum, move back to the center. Yes. Told who, the crowd, the what? Christian said, no, there was another message with that, but don't worry about it. Oh, did I miss it? I apologize, guys. We're getting, we're getting bigger. I'm losing control over how to deal with the chat, but we are growing, and I am not mad about it. But yeah, if I did miss something, just say it again. We're not that big where it's just gonna get lost. If I'm very rarely gonna miss something twice. Mr. Slip said, wait, which ones that broke in? The ones during the speech blocks away, or the ones that were behind the velvet ropes? Well, I would assume they're probably talking about the people who are actually rioting. I mean, we're not going to say that there was nobody rioting at the Capitol on January 6th, right? Oba said, only a slight shift of the timeline. Trump could have been the Democratic nominee in 2016. He is a moderate.
Bingo.
No, I'm using colloquial language. But nice try. So said to David, it makes as much saying as say the left is headed towards authoritarianism. He isn't, and the left is. Trump is a 90s New York business Democrat. We know this. We know this. This isn't news. We know this. And if you're trying to pretend that this is not the way it is, I will say I think David is not being disingenuous. He's playing around with us. I'm going to give him the benefit that this is a joke because I say that all the time, and I did say he is not a Republican, meaning that he doesn't fall in line with the Republican ethos, even though he has an R next to his name. That's the joke. That's a funny joke. If this is not a joke, then I agree. But I'm sticking up for David here. Anyfilm said, I feel that Trump now is, I feel that Trump now. That's not a sentence. Why did you put a period? This is just a feeling that he is divisive, but he is attacking individuals. Whereas Biden is going after groups, his political enemies that he associates with MAGA. I agree with you. I just don't. What is the feeling thing? What the fuck are you talking about? You sound like a crystal girl. It's just like a feeling. Like it's just like a vibe, you know. I have no fucking idea. I'm American. All right. I'm an American atheist. So David said, I understand you want to separate him from the Republican Party, but that's where he gets his support from, who he supports, and is the most central reason he got elected. Look at any news report from Fox News from 2015 to the election. Like, that's just not what happened. And the entire day that we were watching something with Ben Shapiro, who spent the last how many months talking about how horrible Trump is and how DeSantis is way better. This is just not correct. You're just inaccurate, my friend. Individuals of the FBI, for example, was writing their little hearts out. Yep. And that's why the left stomps all over us, because we keep giving the benefit of the doubt. Well, I mean, hey, I mean, I am willing to fight fire with fire, but I am not going to purposely obfuscate people's messages. If that means that I lose, at least I lose standing on my principles. I will not be what did I just say, David? What did I just say? From 2015. 2016 would be the next year after he was already obviously going to be the nominee. I said 2015. I said I'm a 2015 liberal. 15 is 1 less than 16. I could dumb it down if you need to. This slip said hate never beats hate, just makes more hate. Only way to beat hate is with love, even though it's a hard benefit of the doubt is usually the best route. Bingo. I completely agree. And this comes back to the fact that we all, those of us on this side of the aisle, regardless of what we believe in metaphysically, we all have essentially the same values. Wow. How much Fox News were you watching in 2015? That's not the point, brother. That's not the point. The point is the party morphed to Trump, not the other way around. You genuinely are going to say to me that the average conservative voter has the same values as the average Republican voter in 20 what was the one before that? 2012, 2014, whatever. The election before that. Like, I'm trying. I'm really, really trying. Based. In this house, we will hate is bad, love is good, science is real, and women are all cheaters. I mean, come on, man. It's just the fact that you can go look at it right now. Go look at any Fox News thing from 2015 while Jeb Bush was still the projected leader. They made fun of him. And that is why I ended up hating him. How do I, somebody who doesn't pay attention to news, watch the mainstream media and come away thinking that even Republicans have to hate this guy, unless it's what Fox News is saying? I didn't have any other sources at all. So can every Democrat also not stand? Sure, if they're not, if they don't stand for the values that have, because that have, what's the word? Been central to the party for the last 50 years, 70 years. Sure. But if they're acting more democratic, meaning more Democrat and further left, then no, a Democrat is a Democrat. But yeah, absolutely. Like, I would say that RFK is not a Democrat. And he wasn't a Democrat even when he was running as a Democrat. I don't think that, like, that's not any wild statement. David says, I'm not saying Trump doesn't have the support of the majority of Republicans and has stolen that from previous leaders like Romney and McCain. Stolen is quite a strong word. I just think it's silly to say he's not a Republican. We know you do. We understand that. We understand you are not willing to update your views. We understand that. All right, I tried. But I appreciate you guys hanging out. I really did enjoy this one. And so 86% said we should do part 2. So make sure you are here 8 p.m. Eastern on Friday. But the party is not over. Well, the party is over, but we are headed to the... Where the fuck is it? We're headed to the after party. So if you become a member of the channel, you can not only join the free Discord, it is free to join. We have 2 free channels with free chat and current events. But if you want to take part in the rest of the server, including the contests and the after party, all you got to do is join the membership. If you're not on YouTube and you would like to be a part of it, just join the Discord, send me a DM, and we will definitely figure something out. I want to give a big shout out to Soil to Soul for the $3 cash app. YouTube ain't taking shit, going right in my pocket. Thank you very much. And our boy, the sponsor of the stream, Christian Packard. Thank you so much, guys. You know how much I appreciate it. And I know how much you hate when I get all mushy. But you guys are amazing. I love you so much. I love doing this. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate you, David. I appreciate you, Mood. I appreciate anybody out there who was just watching and didn't agree, but enjoyed the back and forth. This is what we need, guys. This is what we need. We don't need to agree on everything. We just need to be able to talk about everything. So thank you so much. Once again, I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, or in the after party, I'll see you there. Peace. Oh shit.